Chapter 9:54. Why is this happening? Why are they all running down the mountain? And why is it so messy? Zhang Xiaohua immediately concealed himself after emerging from the ground. He was surprised when he saw the disciples running down the 9 Radiance Peak. It's just that the underground dragon vein is empty. The entire 9 Radiance Peak has sunk a little. Is there a need to be so scared? After that, Zhang Xiaohua puckered his lips and formed seals with his hand. He was just about to fly away when he heard 12 enormous bangs resound in succession, and 12 blood-red signals flew up into the sky from halfway up 9 Radiance Peak. What signal is that? Zhang Xiaohua didn't quite understand. However, when he saw the disciples running away in panic, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "It's not dangerous. You guys can run for now. I should be near the Shilling Peak now. I won't be accompanying you." As he spoke, he used the flight technique and flew towards Shilling Peak. In just half a day, Zhang Xiaohua arrived near the Shilling Peak. When he landed, he was surprised. Something's not right. There seems to be something different. Why is the energy of heaven and earth in the fragrant cult getting thinner? Although it's just a little thinner, it's not normal. I've been here for so long, and I've never seen such a situation. While he was puzzled, Zhang Xiaohua released his divine sense. However, the moment he released his divine sense, Zhang Xiaohua almost fell down in shock. He was pleasantly surprised. What's wrong? My divine sense can see so far? Of course, the Shilling Peak was not far away. If it was a normal day, how could he see it with his divine sense? At this moment, Zhang Xiaohua could see more than half of the Shilling Peak with his divine sense. How could Zhang Xiaohua not be surprised? Could it be that my divine sense improved after last night's refinement? Zhang Xiaohua was puzzled. But the fragrant cult's divine sense cultivation method is only for controlling the divine sense. It doesn't have any effect on strengthening the divine sense. Could it be the sect-protecting formation that suppresses my consciousness? It's possible. Zhang Xiaohua's eyes flickered as he thought of the restriction he had broken last night. I don't think so. Could it be that the sect-protecting array of the incense cult was destroyed by me? At the same time, Zhang Xiaohua recalled that in the Huan Su, Wan Wuxin had told her about Yu Mingxin and Yang Haoye setting up the array together. Could it be that green gourd is the powerful magic weapon they obtained here, and the dragon vein is a part of their formation? I don't know where the dragon vein went, but the green gourd was taken by I. Oh no, isn't this the legendary taking drastic measures? I am in trouble now. Zhang Xiaohua frowned and looked at the Shilling Peak in the distance. She thought to herself, let's not talk about the sect-protecting formation first. Now that such a huge change has happened to the fragrant cult, I have to return to lingering Fragrance Peak. At this time, no one will be concerned about me. Abbess Jing, you won't link me to Abbess Jing Gang's death, right? However, before returning to lingering Fragrance Peak, I have to be careful. The money pouch, belt, and other items have not been refined. Now that my divine sense has recovered, and I can even use my natal energy, I have to deal with them properly. I don't want Abbess Jing to find out anything. Zhang Xiaohua found a secluded place and used the jade talisman to set up a restriction. Then she got busy. A few days later, when they were half a day away from lingering Fragrance Peak, Zhang Xiaohua sat cross-legged on Huan's back and looked at the mountain path thoughtfully. Many disciples were riding their horses and rushing to different places. It seems like a huge change has happened. If not, why is this mountain path so crowded when there aren't many disciples? Not to mention the inner disciples, even the outer disciples have come down from the mountain and are trying to find out what happened. Just as she was thinking, there was a rush of horse hooves and a group of masked female disciples galloped from the front. Don't tell me they are the messengers from Immo Sun Gong. Zhang Xiaohua's eyes turned, and she patted Huan's head before moving to the side of the road. There were other disciples hurrying to and fro on the mountain path. When they saw the group of female disciples, they dodged to the side like Zhang Xiaohua and opened up a path for them. After a while, most of the female disciples galloped past Zhang Xiaohua. However, When the last female disciple galloped past, the red horse's front hooves suddenly stopped and it lost its balance. The female disciple was quite alert. She patted the horse's back and leaped off the horse in an attempt to land on the ground. However, at this moment, her left leg coincidentally touched something on the saddle. The blood in her body stagnated and her internal energy was insufficient. She lost control of her body and slammed into a person on the mountain path. This situation happened so suddenly that the female disciple was caught off guard. Just as she was about to collide with the male disciple on the mountain path stretched out his hand and took out a sword embryo from the back of his mount. He casually stretched out his hand and flicked the sword embryo at the female disciple's waist. With just a little bit of force, the female disciple flew up. At this time, the female disciple's blood and chi had returned to normal. She borrowed the force of the sword embryo and slowly floated down. Before she could stabilize herself, the female disciple's face revealed a trace of surprise. She cupped her hands and said, "This, junior brother, thank you for your help." The male disciple grinned and said, "There is no need for that. We are all from Immerse. It is only right for us to help each other. Immerse's fellow disciples." The female disciple frowned. She looked at the sword embryo in the male disciple's hand and suddenly realized something. She smiled and said, "I was wondering who had such great strength. So, it is junior brother Ren." The male disciple cupped his hands and said, "Senior sister, you must be joking. I am Ren Xiaoyao. I just came back from the outside." Then he looked at the group of disciples who were already far away and said, "I wonder, what happened in the sect? Why is it so noisy? Also, Immerse's senior sister went out in such a large group." The female disciple looked at the date red horse that fell to the ground and immediately jumped up. She was a bit worried and said, "Junior brother Run, did you not feel the earth shaking a few days ago?" Zhang Xiaohua realized something and said, "Of course I know about the shaking. Almost all of the shaking caused me to fall off the cliff. Could it be related to the shaking?" The female disciple nodded and said, "Because of the shaking, our fragrant sex protection formation was activated. Now we are completely exposed to the world of martial arts. Everything from the past will change. We have received orders from the sect master to pass down the order. As for the specific details, junior brethren should go back to Lingering Fragrance Peak to ask." As she spoke, the female disciple cupped her hands and bid farewell. She turned around and mounted the date red horse. After galloping a few steps, she turned around and said with a smile, "Sect master has decreed that all disciples in closed-door cultivation must come out. Senior sister Xia should be among them." Then, a bell-like laughter sounded and gradually went away. "Meng has come out of closed-door cultivation?" Zhang Xiaohua was overjoyed. She patted Huan's bald horn, and the David's deer flew away. In less than half a day, Zhang Xiaohua arrived at the foot of the Lingering Fragrance Peak. At this time, the Lingering Fragrance Peak was different from before. Although there was no longer a sentry post every 5 steps or 10 steps, there would be a hidden sentry post at every certain distance. When he arrived at the mountain pass, it was even more exaggerated. A few disciples of the vigorous Golden Palace were standing there with weapons in their hands. They looked around with serious eyes. They had the same expression as the guards under the ethereal sect's memorial archway. Zhang Xiaohua rode on the David's deer and used her divine sense to scan the surroundings. She secretly said, "The fragrant sect has not been in the world of martial arts for a long time. They have long lost the habits of the world of martial arts. Now that the sect protection formation is gone, they're suddenly thrown into the world of martial arts. If they're not well prepared, it will be like forcing ducks to a perch." This thick tablet seems to have changed. However, when she saw the disciples of Ruijin Palace staring at her from not far away, Zhang Xiaohua walked past the thick tablet as if nothing had happened. "Stand there." When the disciple saw Zhang Xiaohua approaching, he scolded, "Which palace's disciple are you? Take out your waist token and check it." "Waist token? Check it?" Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. However, When she used her divine sense to scan the surroundings, she was stunned. What's wrong? The peak's protection formation is also gone? While he was in doubt, Zhang Xiaohua took out her waist token and handed it over. She asked this, "Senior Marshal Brother, in the past, when I entered Lingering Fragrance Peak, I didn't need to check my waist token. Why, after I left for dozens of days, this rule changed?" "Shut up," the disciple said angrily. "It's just checking your waist token. Why are you talking so much?" However, when he saw Zhang Xiaohua's waist token, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He frowned and asked curiously, Why is your waist token Mo Xiangong's?" Zhang Xiaohua was even more puzzled. She asked back, "Senior Marshal Brother, were you not in Ruijin Palace a month ago?" "Yes. I went to Xiling Peak for business, and just returned 10 days ago." The disciple didn't understand. Seeing that it was Mo Xiangong's waist token, he was respectful. Does Mo Xiangong have male disciples? If a male disciple took Mo Xiangong's waist token, who could it be? "Senior Marshal Brother, have you not heard of the guardian disciples of our fragrant religion?" Speaking of this, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but feel a little proud. Ruijin Palace was destroyed by her. Now that she mentioned it in front of the disciples of Ruijin Palace who didn't know the details, how could she not be proud? Guardian disciple Ren Xiaoyao? The disciple took half a step back and looked at the very young face in front of him in surprise. Zhang Xiaohua cupped her hands and said, "That's me. Senior Marshal Brother, can I go up the mountain now?" "Haha, of course you can. So it's the guardian disciple of our religion. I'm Wang Ming. I've long heard of Junior Marshal Brother's deeds. I didn't expect to meet you here. Please go up the mountain." Wang Ming returned the waist token to Zhang Xiaohua and made way for the path up the mountain. He cupped his hands and said, Well said, well said." Zhang Xiaohua also cupped her hand with a smile. Then they followed the mountain path all the way to Mo Xiangong. Inside Mo Xian's palace, Nanjing Yi was seated high above. Below her were several elders. Below them were several white-haired old men. Among them, there were 3 who looked extremely similar and attracted the most attention. At this time, everyone was no longer as panicked as before. They sat in their chairs and listened to Nanjing Yi say, "Now that the fragrant religion is open, everyone in Jianghu will know about it sooner or later. Instead of that, it's better to act early, to set up in advance." Chapter 955. Set up in advance. Everyone looked at Nanjing Yi, not understanding. Nun Shuizhen probed, "I don't understand what you mean, Hierarch Lord. Although we had a sect-protecting formation in the past, we still have many disciples in the Jianghu. Although we can't compare with Dalan Temple and the Righteous Alliance, we can't underestimate them. This kind of setup, haha, Junior Sister Shuizhen is right. Those are the forces of our fragrant religion. They're all the arrangements made by our ancestors. Our religion's intention is just to make the first move when we appear in Jianghu." "Make the first move?" Nanjing Fan asked curiously. "Please enlighten me. Our ancestors once said that the appearance of the fragrant religion would cause chaos in the Jianghu. Since we, the fragrant religion, have appeared in the Jianghu, we might disrupt the current structure of the Jianghu. A storm of blood may be unavoidable, but if we make the first move before the other sects react, wouldn't it be advantageous for us?" Peacock said, "You are far-sighted. I can't compare." Chin Chin quickly added, That's right, that's right. What good plan do you have? Tell us." Nanjing Yi smiled. "There's no such thing as far-sighted or scheming. It's just that I'm in a position. Besides, there are some things that I've been thinking about. Now that Jianghu has reopened, it's just that we're starting ahead of schedule." When she saw the people's gazes, Nanjing Yi said, "Since Incense Cult has returned to the world of martial artists, then we should greet our old friends in the world of martial artists. We have decided that in 3 months, we will hold a martial arts tournament on Incense Cult's Huayu Peak. We will invite all the major sects in the world of martial artists to Incense Cult." Although it was a question, there was no denying it. Everyone was stunned at first, then a trace of fanaticism flashed in their eyes. They clapped and laughed. "You're wise and far-sighted. We can't compare to you. Nun Shuizhen nodded. I'm still thinking about how to get along with the sects in Jianghu. With this martial arts convention, not only will the news of Jianghu's reappearance spread, but it will also show our strength. It'll make everyone admire us. It's killing two birds with one stone. Then, are there any arena matches? Chen Chen asked anxiously from his side. When the people of Jianghu gather together, of course, they will discuss martial arts and swordsmanship. The competition in the arena should be indispensable. If the cult of incense wants to establish its prestige in Jianghu, it must be done. Abbess Jingfan looked at Chun Chun and the silent peacock and said with a smile, "Oh, that's right. Is there any news about First Elder Jinggang?" Nun Jing asked Nun Shuizhen calmly. Abbess Shuizhen took a look at Peacock and stood up. "Your subordinate is stupid. Peacock and I sent out disciples to kidnap quite a number of the spies, but there was no improvement. Since that's the case, I'd rather kill 1,000 by mistake than let one go. Kill the chicken to scare the monkey." Well, Abbess Shuizhen was ultimately compassionate. She probed, "Wouldn't that be killing too many?" A cold smile appeared on Jing Yi's face. Jianghu is a dangerous place. Our incense order respects women, so who knows how many rascals covet it. Now that our incense order has returned to Jianghu, it's time to establish our might. Moreover, after the Martial Arts Society convention, how can we get along with those sects peacefully? Our incense order has to have a share of the pie in Jianghu. Kill, kill, kill. If we don't kill, our first elder will have no one to accompany him in his sacrifice, right? Yes, Your Excellency. Abbess Shuizhen did not dare to disobey and said in a low voice. Also, immediately send a disciple to send a message to Ming Qing. The plan has changed. Tell him to complete the task within 3 months. Yes, your subordinate understands. At this time, Chun Chun smiled again and said, Your Excellency, since the Martial Arts Society convention is going to be held, then, how do we inform the major sects? Are we going to send disciples out again? Seeing Chun Chen's eager look, Abbess Jingyi smiled. You little girl, you're only thinking about going out to play. Sigh, now that the door is open, you'll have plenty of opportunities to go out in the future. Why are you in such a hurry? These children are so pitiful. They've never been to Jianghu alone, so how can they know how dangerous it is? They all think that they're going out to play like messengers. Abbess Jingfan said lovingly. However, what Qinshin said is also reasonable. Today, I'm telling you about the Martial Arts Society convention because I want to discuss with the elders who will go out. Since we're holding the Martial Arts Society convention, we must send out the invitations. Ha ha! Everyone laughed. Peacock said, The inner disciples of our incense order have little experience in Jianghu, and they're all women. The matter of inviting the sects is quite tricky. However, if we let the disciples of Ruijin Temple do it, it'll be disrespectful. I think that the major sects should send some disciples of Mo Xian Temple to send the invitations. As for the smaller sects, only the disciples of Ruijin Temple should go. Peacock's words make sense. Abbess Jingyi nodded. It's similar to what I'm thinking. Well, Peacock is a disciple of our incense order. She'll send the invitations to the Tenryu sect to show our respect for them. That's great. Your Excellency, do you want people from the Dalan Temple and the Righteous Alliance to go as well? What do you think of me? Chen clamored. Nanjing ignored her and looked at Yiyan. She smiled and said, Yiyan and this junior sister Shuizhen have not only surpassed their master in martial arts, they have also learned to be calm. The Righteous Alliance has always been restless, so I'll let you go. Yiyan was neither haughty nor humble. She stood up and saluted. I'll follow your orders. Abbess Jingyi looked at Abbess Jingfan and said, As for the other sects' invitations, I'll let junior sister Jingfan and junior sister Shuizhen worry about them. Let the reliable disciples of Ruijin Temple send them. Chun Chun pouted when she saw that there was nothing for her to do. She felt wronged. Your Excellency, this disciple, is also a disciple of inheritance. The Dalan Temple hasn't sent anyone yet. Why don't they send a disciple? You? Abbess Jingyi saw this and shook her head. There are only 3 disciples of inheritance in this generation. Peacock and Yuyan have already gone out. How can you go? Moreover, your junior sister Peacock. You're in charge of Ruijin Temple. While Peacock and Yuyan are out, you should take charge and familiarize yourself with the affairs of Ruijin Temple. But Chen Shun was still reluctant. Shimujian will be back soon. Let him sit and do the boring things. This disciple will go to the Dalan Temple on behalf of your excellency. Abbess Jingyi smiled bitterly. She pointed at Chen Shun and scolded with a smile. You little girl, there are so many people in Mo Nua Temple who are eyeing the position of Ruijin Temple. You're good. I'll let you sit there, but you don't want to. You just have to run outside. However, the Dalan Temple is a Buddhist holy land. It has a bad habit of not letting women in. Even if you go, the monks of the Dalan Temple won't let you in. Wouldn't it be a loss of face for my Xiangjiao? There's such a saying? Chen Shun was stunned. She scolded. They're all raised by their parents. Why can only men enter, but not women? No wonder everyone in the world calls them bald donkeys. Everyone laughed. Even Abbess Jingyi couldn't help laughing. She pointed at Chen Shun and wanted to say something, but she couldn't. Abbess Jingfan said, Your Excellency is right. The Dalan Temple is a troublesome place. The Tenryu sect and the Righteous Alliance are both invited by the inherited disciples. If the Dalan Temple isn't an inherited disciple, it would be rude of us. But if Chen Shun also goes, all 3 of us inherited disciples will go out. It's really inappropriate. What do we do? What can we do? Abbess Shuezhen smiled. Maybe when Shimujuan comes back. He's the eldest disciple of Ruijin Temple. Although he's not an inherited disciple, he can still go. Yes, Shimujuan is the first candidate to go to the Dalan Temple. Abbess Jingyi nodded. But it's been a few days since the Guardian Array was opened. He should have returned long ago. Why is he still? While they were talking, Abbess Jingyi scanned the outside with her divine sense. She was delighted and smiled. I have another idea. The second candidate to go to the Dalan Temple has been chosen. The second candidate, Chen Shun, was stunned. He shouted, Shimujian can go, I won't fight with him. How can there be another candidate? Who is it? Abbess Jingyi said, disciples outside, bring guardian disciple Ren Xiaoyao. Ren Xiaoyao? Chen Shen's expression changed slightly. He looked at the entrance of the hall. In just a short moment, a slender figure appeared at the entrance of Mo Xian Palace. Wasn't that Zhang Xiaohua? Zhang Xiaohua walked into the hall and saw that it was filled with people. There was also a jade coffin in the middle of the hall. He was astonished. After meeting Abbess Jingyi and the others, Zhang Xiaohua looked at the jade coffin again. He didn't ask anything and just stood at the bottom. Chen Shen sized up Zhang Xiaohua with his big black eyes. He seemed to feel that there was something different about Zhang Xiaohua, but he couldn't tell what it was. Ren Xiaoyao, did you gain anything from this trip? Abbess Jingyi suddenly asked after a moment of silence. Yes. When Zhang Xiaohua heard this, he said calmly, I followed sect master's orders and went to a few mountains. I investigated openly and secretly and obtained some information. I also found out that there were some spies. After that, Zhang Xiaohua told her what he knew. Of course, he didn't mention anything about Lei Hong from the Greenwood Palace. In the end, he cupped his hands and said, I know that sect master is wise and everything is under your control. Therefore, I didn't dare to act rashly and alert the enemy. You are considerate, Abbess Jingyi said coldly. However, are you still hiding something from me? Hiding something from sect master? Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. He asked curiously, I told you everything in detail and didn't hide anything. Is that so? Abbess Jingyi said coldly. You didn't kill Grand Elder Jinggang? Zhang Xiaohua was so shocked that his mouth opened so wide that a goose egg could fit in it. Before he could say anything, a strand of divine sense swept past and wrapped around Zhang Xiaohua's neck. You still won't admit it? Grand Elder Jinggang left Lingxiang Peak to hunt you down. Now that his corpse is on Shiling Peak, isn't that where you went? You still want to quibble? After that, the divine sense tightened and was about to strangle Zhang Xiaohua's neck. Chapter 956. Sir Hierarch, you are wise. Zhang Xiaohua anxiously scratched at his neck, as if he wanted to grab hold of Nanjing Yi's divine sense. He argued, this disciple knows that this disciple has caused Grand Elder Jinggang to misunderstand me. So I received Sect Master's decree to leave immediately after recovering from my injuries. Even when I was at the foot of the mountain, I didn't dare to reveal my whereabouts. During this period of time, this disciple was very afraid that Grand Elder Jinggang would suddenly appear. I was always nervous. It wasn't until I set foot in Mo Suo Palace that I felt at ease. Only in front of Sect Master did I feel a sense of security. I have been at Shilling Peak, but I have never seen Great Elder Jinggang. Moreover, Sir Hierarch, if I had seen Great Elder Jinggang, would I still be standing in Mo Xin Palace? Zhang Xiaohua smiled bitterly and said, if I had the skills to kill Great Elder Jinggang, what would I still need to hide? Nun Jingyi's face was hidden under the veil, and her emotions could not be seen. Everyone in the hall, except for Chun Chun, who looked anxious, and Peacock, who was looking down at the ground, looked at Zhang Xiaohua with interest and did not speak. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Nun Jingyi's divine sense was retracted. Whether you killed him or not, you are the most suspicious. Nun Jingyi said coldly. Shi Mujuan has always hated you. When he returns from his training, you will be in for it. Zhang Xiaohua laughed coldly in her heart, but her face was awkward. She said, Sir Hierarch, I have been wronged. You have been wronged. Perhaps I know. Even if Shi Mujuan knows, he may not be able to let it go. Unless you can find Yu Zhuochuan. I have only seen Senior Brother Yu once. I don't even know what he looks like now. Where do you want to find him? This is really difficult for me. Hee, I can point you out a way to get you out of this predicament temporarily. Really? Zhang Xiaohua pretended to be overjoyed and said anxiously, Sir Hierarch, please enlighten me. I'm very grateful. You've been on your way back. Do you know what happened in the church? Yes, this disciple has asked the senior sister who sent the message, so I know a little. Zhang Xiaohua answered honestly. That's good. Now that the fragrant order has reappeared in the pugilistic world, you can go out at any time. If you go out, won't Shi Mujuan be unable to find you? Zhang Xiaohua's face lit up with joy, but she immediately became discouraged. Disciples' martial arts are not complete yet. Even if I can leave, what can I do? If Senior Martial Brother, she wants to find me, he will find me no matter what. Disciples should stay by Lord Cult Leader's side. Only then will it be safer. Bah! Nun Jingyi laughed and scolded. Since when did our cult let you run away? This sect only wants you to make a trip to the pugilistic world. When Shi Mujuan returns and finds the murderer who killed Great Elder Jinggang, he won't vent his anger on you. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua's face lit up with joy. Yes, this time it was genuine joy. She smiled and said, Thank you, Lord Cult Leader, for granting my wish. Thank you, Lord Cult Leader, for your concern. You're really a living bodhisattva who saves people in distress. Bah! Nun Jingyi scolded again. I haven't even told you, and you've already brought up the Dalan Temple's shady business. Chen Chun, tell him what happened. Chen Chen's expression was strange. She said, Ren Xiaoyao, consider yourself lucky. You actually snatched away this senior sister's good thing. Then she told him about the invitation. Zhang Xiaohua was enlightened after hearing this and laughed secretly. The heavens are really helping me. She bowed to the ground again. Thank you, Lord Cult Leader, for granting my wish. Thank you, Senior Sister Chun, for granting my wish. He stroked Ming's black hair and said with heartache, Shirtai can rest in peace now that you've done this for her. I have 9 lives. Even if Yu Zhuochuan wanted to kill me, she couldn't. Even if Nun Jinggang wanted to kill me, she couldn't. Even if Shi Mujuan wanted to kill me, he couldn't. Senior Brother, she wanted to kill you? Ming said in surprise. Hasn't he not returned to the mountain yet? Zhang Xiaohua saw that she accidentally let it slip and quickly changed the topic. Right, I just found out that Nun Jinggang was killed in Mo Xin's palace. Do you know who killed her? Ming shook her head. How would I know? I just heard that Great Elder died. I was worried that you were killed by her. I just felt relieved when I heard that you're back. Xiaohua, it's so good to see you alive. Yes, me too. I couldn't help but come back earlier when I thought of you waiting for me at Lingxiang Peak. Right? I have good news for you, good news. Meng Qi said, Is it related to me? Or yours? Zhang Xiaohua said mysteriously, Of course it's related to you and me. Guess. If it was Nie Qinyu, she would have tilted her head and thought, but Meng shook her head. If you want to tell me now. If you don't, I don't want to hear it either. Chapter 9:57. Zhang Xiaohua felt helpless and said, Meng, can you not be so boring? I'm boring. Who would bother you to look for me? Seeing that Meng was angry, Zhang Xiaohua quickly said, Okay, I'll tell you now. Then, Zhang Xiaohua told her about the sect protecting spell and the martial arts convention. I know about the sect protecting spell. Lord Leader pulled out all the disciples who were in seclusion to deal with this matter. But the martial arts convention? It should be a grand occasion. I'm really looking forward to it. Meng's eyes shone with a longing look. Zhang Xiaohua was a little confused. Don't you want to go out for a walk? Go to the Dalan Temple to send an invitation? Che, Meng laughed. That's senior brother Xi's business. What does it have to do with you and me? Lord Sect Leader is just encouraging you. That might not be the case. If she moods you and doesn't come back, doesn't that mean we can go? The sect protecting spell is such a big matter. How can senior brother Xi not come back? Xiaohua, you should think more about how to make senior brother Xi not suspect you. Meng saw Zhang Xiaohua's nonchalant look and frowned slightly. She asked curiously, Could it be you're so sure that Lord Leader will send you and me to the Dalan Temple? How could it be? Zhang Xiaohua changed the topic and smiled. Now that the incense cult is open, we'll have plenty of chances to fight side by side in the martial world. If we don't succeed this time, there'll be a next time. Bah, who wants to fight side by side with you? Meng said, her cheeks flushed. Zhang Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and she held Meng's hand even tighter. The two of them looked at the secluded place and chatted until the sky turned dark. Then, they reluctantly parted. Zhang Xiaohua returned to his room and thought for a moment. Then, his figure disappeared into the ground. He didn't dare to go too deep into the ground. Following his memory, he arrived at the mountain path. Then, he jumped out of the ground and hid his figure. He carefully went down the lingering fragrance peak. He waited until he was outside the mountain. Then he soared into the sky and used the flying technique to go straight to the first faith peak. Back in the day, Zhang Xiaohua rode the David's deer from the first faith peak to the lingering fragrance peak. It took him a few days, but it only made Zhang Pinger extremely worried in the distant fire hall. Cough, cough, of course, it was also Zhang Xiaohua's fault for taking the time to go to the weapon refining hall to get a few useful artifacts. That unremarkable little mirror had saved Zhang Xiaohua many times. In fact, Zhang Xiaohua thought more than once. Since Nanjing Yi and Nanjing Gang also had divine senses, some elders in Immerse Palace should also have divine senses. But why did the small mirror, the crimson spirit shield, and the unknown bracelet in the human pavilion all fall into her hands? Could it be that she had a good character? But on Lingxiang Peak, she saw that almost every disciple had some magic tool fragments in their hands. Then, in the life and death battle with Nanjing Gang, she saw the Jialan plate. That was a magic tool that Nanjing Gang did not use. Zhang Xiaohua knew that it was not that she had a good character. It was just that Nanjing Gang did not like it. Nanjing, he had divine senses. Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to use her divine senses to check. She must have a more powerful magic tool on her that she could not compare to. As for the small mirror, Zhang Xiaohua also had a trace of understanding. Didn't the founder of the immortal Tao, Huan Wuxin, say that before the immortal Tao, there was a cultivation world? Moreover, this world was also strange. There were Dharma artifacts that were even more powerful than the immortal Tao. These Dharma artifacts couldn't be discovered by divine sense alone. The small mirror might belong to this category. As for the Crimson Spirit Shield, it was something that Abbess Jing didn't care about. Of course, The green gourd should be the magic tool that the founder of the fragrant religion, Yu Mingxin, used in the cultivation world in the past. It should be the same as the small mirror in her hand. The flying technique was indeed wonderful. In less than an hour, Zhang Xiaohua arrived at Shixin Peak. Seeing hundreds of Wuming Hall disciples guarding the mountain path in front of Shixin Peak, Zhang Xiaohua knew that this must be an order from Nanjing Yi to prevent the Misty School disciples from doing anything strange. However, the disciples of Ruijin Hall on Lingxiang Peak could not discover Zhang Xiaohua, who secretly went down the mountain. How could the disciples of Wuming Hall detect Zhang Xiaohua going up the mountain? There was no one in Zhang Xiaohua's room. The oil lamp was lit, and there was a half-open book on the table. Zhang Xiaohua looked at the familiar room and sat on the chair with a smile. She picked up the book and read it with great interest. After a long time, the sound of light footsteps came from the courtyard. Zhang Xiaohua listened, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. Zhang Xiaohu pushed the door and entered. When he saw that there was someone in the room, he was shocked at first. Then he was overjoyed. He looked back at the pitch-black courtyard and closed the door. He smiled and said, "Xiaohua, why are you here now?" Zhang Xiaohua didn't answer. She looked at her second brother and said, "Second brother, people are in good spirits. Looking at your complexion, it's really good." Zhang Xiaohu stepped forward and looked around with joy in his eyes. Then he sat on the chair next to her and said with a smile, "No matter how good I am not as good as you. The female alchemist disciple on Lingxiang Peak is good, isn't she? Is she much better than Ye Qinyu?" Zhang Xiaohua did not know whether to laugh or cry. She waved her hands and said, "Second brother, don't tease me. What are you talking about? What? You go to Lingxiang Peak to be an alchemist disciple. Isn't it because of that little girl? If you don't hug her thigh, do you want to hug Chin Chin's thigh?" Zhang Xiaohua showed a mischievous expression and said with a smile, "Second brother, this is what you said." "I never said it." Zhang Xiaohu suddenly realized and punched Zhang Xiaohua on the shoulder. He laughed and scolded, "Chin Chin and I have a pure relationship." Zhang Xiaohua felt wronged and said curiously, "Second brother, I didn't say a word." Okay. Zhang Xiaohu curled his lips and stopped pestering. "You have been to Lingxiang Peak for more than 2 months. Have you become an alchemist disciple? Let's not talk about that first. Second brother, why did you suddenly read a book?" Zhang Xiaohua pointed at the book on the desk with interest and said with a smile, "I can't not read. Xiaohua, we were poor in the past. When I was young, I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how powerful the contents of books were. Your second sister-in-law forced me to read the things in the book. Only then did I know that this is reality and history repeating itself. Only by reading more and thinking more can I have a clear view of people and be ahead of others." Upon hearing Zhang Xiaohu's words, Zhang Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. That's right. He had been cultivating more, but he had read fewer books. Although the heavenly Tao was the truth of the heavenly Tao, the books contained the wisdom of his predecessors. It was also useful for him who lacked life experience. I understand. Second sister-in-law has high expectations of you," Zhang Xiaohua said with a smile. "Oh, by the way, how is the martial arts exhibition going? I remember you were going to hold it when I left." Zhang Xiaohu spread his hands and said helplessly, "What else can we do? You gave Ding Chao and Du Feng a meridian nourishing pill each. If they don't get the first and second place, wouldn't it be unfair to you? Second brother didn't go on stage," Zhang Xiaohua said with a smile. "How could he not go on stage? He just took advantage of his injury to fight with the deputy hallmaster." But Ding Chao and Du Feng were not convinced. They rebelled against me," Zhang Xiaohua said. "How about I give that whatever pill to second brother tonight? Let you be awe-inspiring?" Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohu's eyes lit up and he laughed foolishly. "Then, that's good." Zhang Xiaohua was excited again. He extended his hand towards his money pouch, but just as his divine sense came into contact with the jade bottle of qi-generating pills, his heart unconsciously stirred. He once again took his hand out from his bosom and said while shaking his head, "Second brother, I think it's better if you don't be so impatient. Eh? Why? Zhang Xiaohu stared blankly. His eyes turned, and he also came to a realization. He nodded and said, "And you're right. Now that I've just become the head disciple, it's better to gain the trust of lingering fragrance peak. If I break away from their control, who knows what accident might happen." What second brother said makes sense. Moreover, not only that, at this critical juncture, they've sent so many disciples to prevent your Misty Hall from changing. If you, senior, suddenly achieve great success, wouldn't it give Sir Leader a headache? Critical juncture? What do you mean? Zhang Xiaohua mysteriously said. These past few days, the peak has been shaking. Second brother, aren't you curious about what happened? Nonsense, of course I'm curious. It's just, what would a little alchemy disciple like you know? Zhang Xiaohu said snappily. Second brother, if you say so, then you're looking down on your lingering fragrance cult's only protector disciple. Protector disciple? Zhang Xiaohu stared blankly and asked curiously, "Is it you?" "Yes, it's your only brother, Zhang Xiaohua." "Oh, Rin Xiaoyao." Zhang Xiaohu's face was full of disdain. He asked again, "I don't know how you tricked them." "Oh, right. What's the deal with the shaking of the mountain?" "I asked Hall Master Yang and Vice Hall Master Yang, but they didn't know either. However, I heard from the disciples that a lot of outer disciples came down from Shixin Peak. I'm afraid it's not a good thing." How is a bad thing?" "It's a good thing." Zhang Xiaohua smiled and told him about the opening of the restriction. "Really?" Zhang Xiaohu's eyes lit up when he heard the news. He grabbed Zhang Xiaohua's hand and said, "Xiaohua, second brother knows that you're very resourceful. You should take advantage of the opening of the restriction and spread the news that we're both alive to the Guozhuang house. Let father and mother rest assured. What do you think?" Seeing Zhang Xiaohu's teary eyes, Zhang Xiaohua held his hand tightly and said with a smile, "Don't worry, second brother. I'm here for this matter." "You're running away?" Zhang Xiaohu asked curiously. "No." Zhang Xiaohua shook his head and said, "I'm just looking for a good job. I'll go out for a walk and settle our personal matters." Chapter 958. Zhang Xiaohu could not bear it and said anxiously, "Xiaohua, what happened? You mean that you are more popular than me, the chief disciple of the Misty Hall in Lingxiang Peak? The inhibition was opened, and we didn't even know about it. But you're going to go out immediately." "Second brother, I have a good character, okay?" Zhang Xiaohua was complacent and told him everything. "No way. How could it be? You are so lucky." "What? You are going to the Dalan Temple?" Zhang Xiaohua talked for a long time, and Zhang Xiaohu's heart went up and down with him. Although he knew that Zhang Xiaohua was in front of him and did not lose a hair, he was his brother after all. How could he not be worried? "The great master Changgung of the Dalan Temple has seen you. Don't be found out." "How could it be?" Zhang Xiaohua patted his chest and said, "Even Master Wen didn't find me, let alone Monk Changgung." Xiaohua, you are so lucky. First it was Nie Qinyu, then Zhang Pinger. There's a dream here. By the way, is Ming beautiful? How is she compared to Nie Qinyu? How is she compared to Zhang Pinger?" Zhang Xiaohua was embarrassed. "Second brother, Ming is the disciple of Shirtai and is also your senior sister." "Oh yes." Zhang Xiaohu patted his forehead and said with a smile, "I forgot about this. When I have a problem in martial arts, I will go to Lingxiang Peak to see my sister-in-law. I will check her for my parents first." "Well, I think it's okay." Zhang Xiaohua did not show any weakness. "It's better to ask second sister-in-law and Chun. Well, I think it's okay." Zhang Xiaohu raised his eyebrows and said, "If we call the two of them, even Nie Qinyu and Zhang Pinger will be watching." In the end, Zhang Xiaohua was not as thick-skinned as Zhang Xiaohu. She stamped her feet and said, "All right, you won't be able to see it even if you want to. Dream of going to the Dalan Temple with me." "That's great. Xiaohua, you don't have to send a letter. Just take your sister-in-law home and settle everything." Zhang Xiaohua was completely defeated. She rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaohu and said, "All right, second brother, don't make fun of your only brother. The opening of the incense cult seal is very bad for your Misty Hall. It may bring you some disaster. You should be careful. Okay, I understand. Zhang Xiaohu nodded solemnly. This was indeed not the right time to increase his inner strength. How is the situation in Misty Heights and Huanxi Heights? I don't know about Huanxi Heights. Miso has never contacted Misty Hall, but I don't see any bad news. They should be fine. Under the leadership of Martial Ancestor Li, the Ethereal Mountain Villa is gradually moving closer to the Ethereal Hall. In the past 2 months, they have been in contact with each other. Many of the martial uncles have gradually recovered their internal strength. Their broken bones are also slowly recovering. Perhaps they will recover soon. What about Captain He, Hero 1, and the others? Zhang Xiaohua was a little nervous. Needless to say, they're all very good. Xiaohua, second brother, I really want to thank you. Zhang Xiaohu said sincerely. Second brother, are you okay? You've only been reading for a few days, and you're so emotional? Alas, nothing good comes out of dog's mouth. Zhang Xiaohu said with a smile. You should read more books. Okay, I know. Zhang Xiaohua said impatiently. If there's nothing else, second brother, then I'll go back to Lingxiang Peak. Now, Zhang Xiaohu looked at the sky outside and said, It's not early anymore. How can you rush back to Lingxiang Peak? It's better to rest here for the night and leave tomorrow. No, it's still early. I can make it, Zhang Xiaohua said with a smile. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua so sure, Zhang Xiaohu was suspicious. You won't sleep at night? Sleep? But it's still early. I'll sleep when I get back to Lingxiang Peak. But Zhang Xiaohu was still puzzled. This place is so far from Lingxiang Peak, you forget it, second brother. I want to explain to you. I'm leaving. I'll come back when I come back from outside. Zhang Xiaohua said and shrank into the ground, disappearing without a trace. Good. She could go back to Lingxiang Peak at night. What ability does Xiaohua have? When the time comes, I'll have to ask him to teach me. Zhang Xiaohu was not surprised to see Zhang Xiaohua disappear. He only secretly coveted Zhang Xiaohua's ability to come and go quickly. The night of Lingxiang cult was no longer the same as before. On the mountain path and in the forest, there were some hidden sentries. Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense was not suppressed by the restriction. The range of his vision had greatly increased. He had already seen everything clearly. While sighing at Lingxiang cult's cautiousness, he concealed himself and directly returned to Lingxiang Peak. On the second day, Zhang Xiaohua finished his routine homework. He held the great wisdom sword and stayed at the door of the small house. Previously, in the thick earth palace in the ruins of Huan, the shocking staff of the mysterious stone statue had left a deep impression on him. It was a supreme technique to use strength to overcome the enemy. Zhang Xiaohua had long wanted to comprehend it. However, later on, he comprehended the sword of the world and put it aside. Now that he was about to leave the mountain, he still had to use the guise of martial arts. This method of using strength to subdue people still needed to be considered. Meng was also sensible. She did not come during the day, so as not to disturb Zhang Xiaohua's cultivation. She only came at night. Once she saw Zhang Xiaohua, she asked curiously, You're a strange person. How did you know that senior brother, she would not be able to come back in time? Just now, the cult leader sent a decree to let me prepare. If there are no unforeseen events tomorrow, I'll go out with you the day after tomorrow. Isn't that good? Isn't it what you and I want to join hands in Jianghu? But Meng's face was slightly red. My martial arts are weak, and your martial arts are about the same. If we go out together, won't we be laughed at? Zhang Xiaohua disagreed. We're going to deliver the invitation, not to fight. When two countries are at war, they don't kill the envoys. What can they do to us? I reckon that the cult leader is thinking the same thing. That's why he sent you and me. If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Meng patted her slightly towering chest with a relaxed expression. Zhang Xiaohua stared blankly at Meng. Meng suddenly woke up and rebuked. What are you looking at? Nothing. I just want to touch the side of your armpit. Meng's face looked as though it was dripping blood. She slapped Zhang Xiaohua's hand and pretended to be angry. What kind of thoughts are you having? Meng Qi quickly walked away. Zhang Xiaohua laughed mischievously. She threw the great wisdom sword aside and followed behind Meng Qi. On the third day, as Zhang Xiaohua expected, Shi Mujuan, the eldest disciple of the dead elder Jing Gang of Ruijin Hall, did not return to Lingxiang Peak in time. The task of delivering the invitation to the Dalan Temple fell on Zhang Xiaohua's shoulders. In Mo Xian's palace, Zhang Xiaohua received an ordinary dark green jade and asked curiously, "This, cult leader, are you sure? This is the invitation? Is it for my traveling expenses?" Nanjing, he did not speak. Chun Chun, who was beside her, laughed out loud. "You idiot, of course this is the invitation. It's just that you don't understand." Meng, who was standing behind Zhang Xiaohua, blushed a little. Zhang Xiaohua smiled embarrassedly and was about to put the jade away when Nanjing, he said, "Rin Xiaoyao, what? Does cult leader have any other orders?" Zhang Xiaohua raised her head and asked. Nanjing, he looked at Meng, who was supposed to be standing in front of Zhang Xiaohua. She opened her mouth but shook her head. She waved her hand and said, "It's nothing. You can go now. Be careful. By the way, you have to personally hand this invitation to the Dalan Temple's elder. Once you receive the elder's reply, come back immediately." "Yes, disciple understands." "Oh, by the way, the Dalan Temple's previous abbot, Master Yuantian, was taken care of by our cult when he was alive. If you have the opportunity, please pay your respects on behalf of our cult." "Disciple understands." Zhang Xiaohua nodded. Of course, the journey of a peacock and a swallow was different, so there was no need to explain it here. Zhang Xiaohua and Meng left Lingering Fragrance Peak with sweet smiles on their faces. Zhang Xiaohua was still the same as before, while Meng was riding a pure white steed. Meng originally didn't wear a veil, but due to the Cult of Fragrance's rules, Nanjing still gave her a veil to cover her face before leaving the mountain. Riding a pure white steed was a graceful woman wearing a light purple palace dress. Looking from afar, she exuded a mysterious aura. Unconsciously, Zhang Xiaohua, who had just left Lingering Fragrance Peak, sneered, "Actually, there's no need for anyone to accompany you. Just this outfit alone is enough for everyone to know you're a disciple of the Cult of Fragrance. Who would dare bully you?" Meng rebuked, "What? You haven't even left the mountain, and you're already tired of it? How about I go back right now? Let you have some peace and quiet? And I know, don't tell me you want to take this opportunity to leave the valley and meet that rejuvenation valley's missing ya?" Zhang Xiaohua's face immediately turned green. She shut her mouth tightly and didn't speak again. After walking for a while, she heard Meng laugh. "Xiaohua, don't tell me I hit the nail on the head. Are you thinking about those sweet moments?" "Big sister, please spare me. When did I have any sweet moments with little fishing, yeah?" Zhang Xiaohua begged for mercy. "I only heard you mention it, and only then did I remember. Didn't the cult leader say he was going to punish Rejuvenation Valley? I don't know how he did it. I'll be too embarrassed to meet her in the future. And you do have some conscience to think of Rejuvenation Valley's consolation. Didn't the cult leader say he was going to be lenient? It shouldn't be a big deal. I didn't make any serious inquiries, but I vaguely heard my senior sisters mention it. It's just a punishment that's all bark and no bite." "Oh, that's good. But why didn't your senior sisters say it more clearly?" "AI, Rejuvenation Valley is only a small sect. How could it be worthy of the cult leader's attention? Even senior sisters only heard it by accident. Who would have the patience to talk about it in detail?" Zhang Xiaohua was speechless. That's right, Rejuvenation Valley was important in her eyes, but what about the disciples of Fragrance Cult? Even the disciples of Wuming Hall looked down on it, let alone the disciples of Mo Xian Palace. She wanted to get information from Meng Hung, but it was tantamount to asking the blind. Meng Hung glanced at her and said with a smile, "According to the cult leader's map, we need to pass by Mo Xian City. Why don't we go and take a look?" Zhang Xiaohua was shocked. She waved her hand and said, "No need, no need. Let's take a detour." "No way, Xiaohua. If you don't have any ulterior motives, Rejuvenation Valley sent you to Fragrance Cult. Now that you've returned, you should at least go and thank them. Being ungrateful isn't your style." Zhang Xiaohua didn't know what to say. Chapter 9:59. Zhang Xiaohua and Dream rode their horses because they wanted to see the scenery. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhang Xiaohua had sleep on time, they would have traveled day and night. Even so, it only took them a few days to reach Jinghai Lake. Before they could see the Jinghai Lake, there were many disciples of the Wuming Hall patrolling the mountain path. Luckily, Meng was wearing a palace dress and a white veil. The disciples of the Wuming Hall knew that she was an inner disciple, so they were very respectful to her. Zhang Xiaohua also benefited a lot, so there were fewer checks. When they arrived at the mountain next to Jinghai Lake, they were stopped by another group of disciples. They respectfully asked, "Excuse me, senior sister and senior brother, were the two of you going on official business?" Dream looked at them and didn't answer. Zhang Xiaohua walked forward with her 4 odd beasts. She cupped her fists and said, "I'm Ren Xiaoyao, a disciple of Lingxiang Peak. I'm accompanying this senior sister from Mo Shui Gong to the Dalan Temple. Junior brothers, please make way." Dalan Temple? The disciples were very surprised and showed envy on their faces. The leader walked forward and said respectfully, "Senior Marshal Brother Run, this job is really good. Since the opening of Jinghai Lake, the sect master hasn't sent any disciples out. You're the first one." Zhang Xiaohua and Dream looked at each other and smiled. There will always be a first. There will be more in the future. I think in a few days, there will be senior sisters going to the Tenryu sect and the Righteous Alliance. "Ah, is that so?" The disciple didn't understand and said flatteringly, then, "Senior Brother Run, I'm just curious. Why are you inner disciples going to these big sects? Can you tell us?" Not only that. I'm afraid there will be many inner disciples visiting the famous sects in Jianghu. The disciple was so curious that he was about to scratch his head. What on earth happened? Zhang Xiaohua pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, "Junior brother, I think you're pleasing to the eye, so I'm only telling you. Please don't tell anyone else, or else I won't say it. I won't say it. Senior Brother Run, I have a nickname which is Taciturn Gourd. I'm the best at keeping secrets. Just tell me, I definitely won't leak it out." "Okay, then come closer." "What? They're going to hold a martial arts convention?" The disciple almost jumped up and blurted out. Zhang Xiaohua's expression changed. "Junior Martial Brother, why are you beaming with joy? This isn't something an expert would do. Haha, it's been a long time since I've seen something exciting. This is the legendary martial arts conference. How can I not be excited? All right, I still have to hurry." The disciple shouted. "Junior brothers, hurry up and make way. Senior Brother Ren from the inner sanctum has something important to do." Zhang Xiaohua smiled and cupped her hands. Then she left with Meng. After entering the valley and seeing the calm Jinghai Lake, Meng complained, "How can you casually tell the outer sanctum disciples about this kind of thing?" Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "There are only 3 months until the martial arts convention. We still have to rely on the outer sanctum disciples to work. How can Lord Sect Leader not tell them in advance? Moreover, there will be a lot of Rue Jean Palace disciples going out in the future. How long can this kind of thing be kept a secret? I'm just a few days ahead of schedule." "You're always right." Meng curled her lips. At this time, there were more than a dozen medium-sized boats on the Jinghai Lake. When they saw Zhang Xiaohua and Meng coming over, a few disciples who were controlling the boats hurriedly came down. After asking about the situation and checking their waist tags, the disciples said respectfully, "Senior brother and senior sister, please board the boat. We'll send you over." "Over?" Meng was stunned. She looked at the wide Jinghai Lake and asked curiously, "How do we get out?" The disciple who was controlling the boat pointed to the other side of the Jinghai Lake and said with a smile, "Okay, senior sister knows that there's a mountain ridge on the other side of the Jinghai Lake. Under the mountain ridge, there is a hidden waterway that leads to the outer sanctum, Dianchi Lake. We discovered it after the sect-protecting Grand Formation was opened." The Jinghai Lake was quite big. There were dozens of similar boats shuttling back and forth on the lake. After traveling for half a day, They arrived in front of a towering mountain ridge. Below the mountain ridge was a pitch-black cave. The water of the Jinghai Lake was flowing leisurely. Zhang Xiaohua had already released her divine sense, so she could see the place clearly. Below the mountain ridge, in the cave, there was also a large lake which was connected to Dianqi Lake on the other side of the mountain ridge. In the past, Yu Mingxin of the Fragrant Cult and Yang Haoya of the Misty School used this water to connect the two lakes with a restriction formation. Meng sounded the boat. With the help of the torch of the disciple who was controlling the boat, she could see the cave clearly. The cave was very low, hanging over their heads. The undulating cave top had protruding sharp stones from time to time. The sharp stones were like reefs in the water, covered with a lot of moss and unusually wet. Seeing that Meng was very interested, the disciple who was controlling the boat explained, "Senior sister and senior brother, the water level of the two lakes is not high on normal days, so it can reveal the passage. A few days ago, it was a full moon, so the water level was extremely high, submerging the passage under the water. Although we had the hint of the inner sanctum disciples, we still searched for a long time without any results. Later, when the water level dropped, we found the passage. Presumably, in the past, the Fragrant Cult could only travel together on the night of the full moon for the same reason." "Junior brother, you're right. We think so too." Zhang Xiaohua responded with a smile. The passage under the mountain ridge was also very long. After traveling for an hour, there was light outside, and they entered Dianqi Lake. Dianqi Lake was almost the same as Jinghai Lake, and the surrounding mountains were also similar. Meng had long been amazed by it. Zhang Xiaohua released her divine sense and saw that the other side of Dianqi Lake was different from before. There were tents and simple caves, which were all set up. Many outer sanctum disciples were holding weapons and walking in a hurry. When the boat reached the shore, the outer sanctum disciples on duty looked back. They did not feel strange and only focused on the outside of the valley. When Zhang Xiaohua and Meng got off the boat, the disciple who was controlling the boat tidied up a little and did not return. He stopped the boat not far away. "Senior sister, may I ask, what business do you have?" Zhang Xiaohua raised her head and saw a thin disciple walking quickly in front of her. His face was respectful and somewhat surprised. Zhang Xiaohua took a step forward, took out her waist token, and said with a smile, "I'm Ren Xiaoyao, a disciple of Mo Xiangong. I'm accompanying this senior sister on business outside the valley." "Outside the valley?" The disciple frowned and said with an embarrassed face, "Senior brother Run, please wait here. I'll go and ask the inner sanctum disciples to come over." "Inner sanctum disciples?" Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. She looked at the place where the disciple used his lightness skill and scanned with her divine sense. Yes, outside the valley, there were also some disciples on guard in different places. Looking at their clothes, they were the disciples of Rue Jin Palace. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly understood. She turned back and said with a smile, "Let's go. We don't need to act like a disciple of Mo Xiangong." In the eyes of outer sanctum disciples, whether it's Rue Jin Palace or Mo Xiangong, they are all inner sanctum disciples. Meng curled her lips and said, "It's up to you." Zhang Xiaohua smiled and didn't say anything. She lifted her feet and walked out of the mountain. Not long after, a disciple of Rue Jin Palace followed the disciple of Wuming Hall. When the disciple saw Zhang Xiaohua from afar, he took a deep breath and said with an embarrassed face, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out, it's junior brother Ren." Zhang Xiaohua scratched her head. Needless to say, this guy's weapon must have been broken when she went up the mountain. She cupped her hands and said, "Cough, cough. It turns out, it's the senior brother of Rue Jin Palace. I'm sent by the hierarch to deliver a letter to the Dalan Temple. Senior brother, please check the waist token." The disciple looked at Meng and asked in a low voice, "Junior brother Ren, this senior sister." This is senior sister Zixia from Mo Xiangong. "Do you want to see the waist token?" "Zixia?" The disciple was stunned again. There was admiration and jealousy in his eyes. However, he still said, "This is my duty. Please don't blame me." Why would Meng talk to him? She raised her hand and threw the waist token to Zhang Xiaohua. After the disciple checked the waist token, he respectfully returned it to Zhang Xiaohua and said with a smile, "Junior brother Ren, you're the first group to leave the valley. Therefore, I have to be careful." Then he looked at the two of them and said, "Junior brother Ren, the Jianghu is not like the valley. You have to be careful. Many situations can't be solved by force. You have to be careful of unorthodox methods." When the disciple saw that Zhang Xiaohua and Meng were young, he wanted to protect them. As he led the two of them out of the valley, he told them about the things to pay attention to in the Jianghu. They walked very far. Before he finished, Zhang Xiaohua was touched. She bowed and thanked him. "Thank you, senior brother, for your guidance. I've benefited a lot. When I return from the Dalan Temple, I'll thank you in person. You're too kind." The disciple shook his head. "Junior brother Ren is the strongest person in the incense cult. In terms of martial arts, you're definitely 100 times stronger than me. However, in the Jianghu, you don't just look at martial arts. I've also left the valley in my early years. That's why I have some experience." After saying so much, Junior brother Ren still remembers it in your heart. Of course, you can understand, but you have to rely on yourself for everything. "Yes, I understand," Zhang Xiaohua said with a smile. "All right, let's not talk about it anymore." The disciple pointed with his finger and said, "If you follow this road, you'll reach Macho City. There's a fork in the road that leads to Shuyuan City in the north. If Junior brother Ren wants to go to the Dalan Temple, it's better to go through Shuyuan City." Before Zhang Xiaohua could say anything, she felt Meng's bright eyes behind her. She could only smile and say, "Thank you, senior brother, for your guidance. Goodbye." The two of them set off. Meng laughed and said, "How is it, Junior brother Ren? Are you going to Shuyuan City or Macho City?" Zhang Xiaohua said seriously, "Isn't that nonsense? Our mission is the Dalan Temple, not Rejuvenation Valley. Naturally, we'll go through Shuyuan City." "Are you sure?" "Of course." Zhang Xiaohua patted her chest. "What a pity." Meng pursed her lips and said, "I don't know if it's as you wish or not, but we have to go to Carefree City." Chapter 960. Zhang Xiaohua was curious when Meng said that they had to go to Vow City. "Why must we go to Vow City?" Meng looked at him and shook her head. "This is a matter of Mo Xian's disciple. You cannot know." "Who cares?" Zhang Xiaohua rolled her eyes even more. "Only you female disciples are so troublesome and mysterious." As she spoke, she patted Huan Huan and sprinted forward. Meng saw that Zhang Xiaohua was angry and quickly caught up. She said carefully, "It's not that I don't want to tell you. Xiaohua, this is a matter of Mo Xian's disciple. Yes, she is a direct disciple. I am also Master's only disciple. I must go to Vow City. You, don't blame me." Zhang Xiaohua gritted her teeth. "Look at you. I am not a petty person." Zhang Xiaohua, do you really think I am angry? Even someone of senior peacock status came to Vow City as a messenger. Do you think I am an idiot who doesn't know there is a problem? Whatever secrets you have, they are yours. You don't have to tell me." Meng smiled brightly when she saw that Zhang Xiaohua did not mind. She accompanied Zhang Xiaohua. The sound of horse hooves could be heard, and under the setting sun, the sounds of joy could be heard. The two of them followed the route that Zhang Xiaohua vaguely remembered and arrived at a place in the forest. Meng was sitting on a white horse. She had already changed into the martial attire commonly seen in Jianghu. She had also taken off the veil on her face, revealing her original appearance. Meng looked at the rising and falling waves of trees under the west wind and said with a smile, "Although the scenery outside the mountain can't be compared to the incense order, but it's different everywhere. This continuous forest is rare even in the incense order." That is true. The incense cult has always been self-contained. Everything is similar. You have been in the incense cult for 4 to 5 years, so it is nothing. Peacock and Chun Chun must have been in there since they were young. They have long wanted to come out for some fresh air. Didn't you see the jealousy on Senior Chen's face when she heard that I was invited to the Dalan Temple? Yes, even though I used to be here, outside, but At this point, Meng's face became gloomy. She lowered her head and stopped talking. She shook the reins and moved forward. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua knew that Meng Qi was thinking about her past, but she didn't know how to persuade her. So, she patted David's deer and chased after Meng Qi. She whispered, "Meng Qi, although you don't have any impression of your past, but you can't guarantee that you won't remember it in the future. Think about it slowly, maybe." Meng raised her head with tears in her eyes. She looked into the distance and muttered, "Who knows? Even Master only said that he met me in the mountains. I've thought about it for 5 years, but I can't think of anything. I don't know if my parents, my sisters, and my brothers are still safe in this world. Where are they?" "Huh." Zhang Xiaohua chuckled. "Perhaps they're all waiting for you to return? Oh, by the way, the aroma cult used to have a big array, so we couldn't go in and out freely. Now that the array is open, we'll have plenty of chances in the future to find them. Don't you think so?" Zhang Xiaohua emphasized the word we. Meng looked back at him and said, "Fortunately, Xiaohua, the first person in my memory is my master, and the second is you. My master has left me, but you can still be by my side. I'm already very satisfied. I only pray that in this life, I can see you, even if I can't find any family. The last few words were like a mosquito buzzing. Luckily, Zhang Xiaohua's ears were good, and he heard it clearly. If it were someone else, they would have to ask again. Zhang Xiaohua patted David's deer and walked to the white horse. He held Meng's hand and said sincerely, "Actually, if we can find the fairy that we met that day, we may find some clues no matter how carefully we search. It's a pity that only Shirtai knows where the cottage is. I don't have much of an impression of it. How about you?" I'm also muddle-headed. It's hard for me to remember." Meng was very sad. "Meng, I won't say anything unnecessary. I just want to say that if we can find your family, that's the best. If we can't, Zhang Xiaohua was about to express his determination when suddenly there was a sound above his head. Something fell down. Zhang Xiaohua scanned with his spiritual sense and felt very depressed. He stretched out his hand and caught a goose with a feather arrow in its body. Meng was very surprised. What is this?" "Nothing. It's just someone hunting." Zhang Xiaohua held the goose in his hand and said, "Meng, if we can't find any clues, don't be sad. I'm here." "Xiaohua, what is hunting?" Meng asked curiously. Zhang Xiaohua was a little speechless. "Hunting? You don't even know. Forget it. I'll explain to you after I finish talking to you." "You can explain now. I really haven't heard of hunting." Meng was ready to get to the bottom of it. Looking at the goose in his hand, Zhang Xiaohua really wanted to throw it out of the sky. "What time is it now? Can't you fall down a little later? If you fall down a little later, will you die?" However, the goose was dead. Zhang Xiaohua didn't expect it. Then Zhang Xiaohua was about to explain to Meng what hunting was, and he heard a rush of horse hooves. "Who is it?" Zhang Xiaohua almost flew into a rage. "Why are these people so insensible? Haven't you been young before?" However, when Zhang Xiaohua scanned with her divine sense, her face showed a strange expression. Meng also heard the sound of horse hooves, but it was blocked by the trees and couldn't see it. When the sound of horse hooves came closer, he saw a group of about 10 people, all dressed in martial attire. Only the 2 people in front were wearing long robes. One was empty-handed, the other was holding a folding fan. They looked like scholars. However, the 2 people's eyes were shining, especially the one in front. His eyes were deep, and his temples were slightly bulging. He was a master of internal energy. Zhang Xiaohua didn't look back, but his divine sense was constantly scanning the person in front. Who do you think this person is? It was the person who ambushed Peacock in the valley. Although this place is far from the incense cult, it is still within the incense cult's sphere of influence. This person ambushed their inner disciples. How can he still have the guts to be here? Zhang Xiaohua muttered to herself. Of course, Zhang Xiaohua immediately understood. There was still more than a year before the incense cult's next seal was lifted. Everyone in Jianghu knew this, and so did this person. This place was still very safe. The two people turned around the forest and suddenly saw Zhang Xiaohua and Meng. They were obviously surprised. Zhang Xiaohua's back was facing them, and the two people only glanced at his back before their eyes fell on Meng. The man in the back looked around as if he was looking for something. When the man in front saw Meng, he couldn't move his eyes away. It was as if there was a magnet firmly attracting his gaze. The man in the back looked for a long time, but didn't find anything. He smiled and said, "Young Master Peng, it seems that he's not here." However, young Master Peng didn't reply. When he saw young Master Peng's expression, he couldn't help but look at Meng. Meng was embarrassed by the two people looking at her. She patted her horse and went to Zhang Xiaohua's side. She used Zhang Xiaohua's thin body to block Senior Peng's view. Senior Peng woke up from his dream and asked, "Junior, Brother Huang, what did you say?" Junior Huang found it funny, but he didn't show it on his face. He said, "Young Master Peng's wild goose didn't seem to fall here. Should we go look elsewhere?" Young Master Peng raised his head again. When he saw that Zhang Xiaohua was blocking his view, he couldn't help but feel a little dazed. He shook the reins and stepped forward. He cupped his hands and smiled. "Brother, have you seen a wild goose fall from the sky?" Zhang Xiaohua saw young Master Peng's face clearly. She sneered in her heart and turned around. She raised the wild goose and asked, "Are you talking about this?" Young Master Peng's face was filled with joy. He smiled and said, "Yes, it is. I didn't expect little brother to find it. It is fate." Then he looked at Meng and asked, "I am Peng Yeyu. I wonder, little brother, which sect are you from? It is fate that we met. I hope little brother will not be stingy with your guidance. With your talent, you should be from a famous sect, right?" Meng was about to open her mouth, but Zhang Xiaohua said loudly, "Huh, how could I be from a famous sect? I'm only a disciple of Beta School. I am here with my senior sister to train. Young Master Peng, please don't laugh at me." "Beta School?" Peng Yeyu was stunned. He lowered his head and thought for a moment. He then looked at Junior Huang and shook his head. Peng Yeyu raised his head and said, "Honestly, forgive my humble opinion, but I have never heard of Beta School. May I ask?" Zhang Xiaohua laughed in her heart. "It would be strange if you knew." However, when he saw that this so-called young Master Peng was so honest and didn't come up with any tricks, he had a good impression of him. Thus, he threw the wild goose in his hand to young Master Peng and cupped his hands. This wild goose just descended from the sky. Hee, I didn't expect it to be young Master Peng. Senior sister and I still have some matters to attend to, so we'll part ways here." Meng pulled a long face and looked indifferent. He circled around and was about to leave. Young Master Peng was reluctant, but he still cupped his hands and said, "All right, see you." Before he could finish, Junior Huang got off his horse and stood in front of Zhang Xiaohua. He cupped his hands and said, "Little brother, I am Huang Chang from the Falling Star Alliance. As the saying goes, it is fate that we meet. Young Master Peng just shot a wild goose, and I still have some game behind me. Why don't we find a place to barbecue some game and have a drink together?" Zhang Xiaohua looked at him coldly and said, "Master has ordered that you are not allowed to drink alcohol before you reach adulthood." A strange smile appeared on Huang Chang's face as he said, "Little brother, this is your first time in the pugilistic world, right? One more friend means one more path. Have you heard of this before?" "No." Zhang Xiaohua's answer was unusually straightforward. Chapter 961. Huang Chang's expression immediately changed. He did not expect Zhang Xiaohua to reply in such a manner. When a dozen or so followers behind him heard this, their expressions also changed. They urged their horses to surround them. When Peng Yu saw this, his expression also changed slightly. He covered his mouth and coughed. When Huang Chang heard this, his expression immediately changed. He smiled and said, "This young man is like a newborn calf. He really needs to be praised. Back in the day, I was also like this. I only learned how to conceal my strength after suffering a great loss." Hee. When Zhang Xiaohua heard the threat in his words, she sneered in her heart. She patted Huan Huan's protruding horn and followed Meng away. Peng Yu looked at Meng's back. When they were far away, He slapped his forehead and said, I forgot. I only know that they are from Beta's school. I didn't even ask for their names. Huang Chong smiled and said, with young Master Peng's ability, isn't it a piece of cake for you to find out about this Beta school and their names? However, since young Master Peng is a guest of my Falling Star Alliance, you can leave this matter to me. I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. Huang Chong's smile was very flattering, which made Peng Yu feel a little disgusted. He did not think about the meaning behind Huang Chong's words. He just nodded and urged his horse to go in another direction. When he was far away, he still looked in the direction of Zhang Xiaohua and the others. The corners of Chong Huang's mouth curled up into a smile. He patted his horse and led everyone forward. Only one horse remained in its original position. When everyone was far away, the rider on the horse turned its head and galloped in Zhang Xiaohua's direction. When Zhang Xiaohua and Meng were far away, Meng asked, Xiaohua, why did you say that you are from Beta School? Where's this Beta School? Why haven't I heard you mention it before? Where did this Beta School come from? I was just making things up. Meng Yi frowned. A child who lies is not a good child. Zhang Xiaohua smiled bitterly. I'm not a child anymore. Moreover, before we left the valley, the senior brother of the Rue Jean Palace repeatedly reminded us. Could it be that you have forgotten? Oh, I see. Meng was a little confused. Then why didn't you say you were from the incense cult? No matter what, it's more famous than Beta School. Listening to Meng asking such an idiotic question, Zhang Xiaohua felt a little sad. She knew that since Meng lost her memory, she had been by Shirtai's side. In the incense cult, not only did she not understand the deception of Jianghu, she didn't even know the common etiquette of the secular world. She patiently said, the leader didn't let the disciples leave the valley and only sent us to deliver letters to the major sections. He wanted to cover up the news of the incense cult opening so that he had time to prepare. He even had a plan to attack the sects when they were not paying attention. If we say we're from the incense cult, wouldn't everything be exposed? I understand. You told me to change my clothes and not wear a veil because of this. Yes, you are wearing a palace robe and a veil. Isn't it to tell others that you are an inner disciple of the incense cult? At this time, Zhang Xiaohua's face suddenly changed and became gloomy. What's wrong? Meng, who had been paying attention to Zhang Xiaohua, noticed this and asked worriedly, What's wrong, Xiaohua? Are you not feeling well? No, I just feel that some people don't know the severity of things. Maybe there will be a good show to watch later. What do you mean? Meng Qi asked. Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, Let's go. Let's hurry up. Maybe there won't be any wild geese falling down. Instead, there will be a pile of bird poop falling on our heads. Zhang Xiaohua, you are really disgusting. Meng seemed to be imagining the scene of bird poop falling on her head. She bit her lips and cursed before urging her horse to gallop away. The two of them urged their horses to move forward. After half a day, they didn't see anything unusual. They met many Jianghu people along the way, but they just looked at them casually and passed by. As the sky gradually darkened, Meng urged Zhang Xiaohua to find a place to stay. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and pointed ahead. There will be an inn soon. Don't worry. Meng Qi said, You have always been unable to distinguish north from south. How come you remember it so clearly now? Zhang Xiaohua hesitated. When I came from Macho City to spread incense, I have some impression of it. Besides, I am like you said. Before he finished speaking, a cold smile appeared on his face, and he looked behind him. Meng saw Daki and also turned her head. Behind her in the dusk, there were birds flying out of the forest from time to time. Faintly, there was the sound of horse hooves. I'm afraid it's not. Although Meng was not very sophisticated, she could tell from young Master Peng's gaze and Huang Chong's threat. She turned her head and asked, Is it that young Master Peng? Maybe. Zhang Xiaohua stared into the distance and was calculating in her heart. You knew they would come back? Meng asked, Is this the good show you were talking about? Yes. This is the danger of the Jianghu. Even if you don't provoke it, it will come flying by itself. Zhang Xiaohua seemed to have made up her mind. She smiled and said, Didn't you see the way young Master Peng looked at you? I wanted to dig his eyes out. However, he is reasonable and has some manners. I don't want to forget him. If he is among them, but Meng panicked. There are more than 10 of them. I'm afraid we are not their match. Zhang Xiaohua curled her lips. If the hierarch hears you, he will definitely punish you. Don't forget your identity as an inner disciple of the incense sect. What kind of attitude should you have in the Jianghu? They're just small fries. Even the disciples of Wuming Hall can take care of them. What are you afraid of? I've never fought anyone before, right? Besides, my martial arts are not complete yet. Meng's face was slightly red as she defended herself. Don't worry, there is still me. Zhang Xiaohua took on the responsibility. Don't think that I can't defeat Shimujuan. I am more than enough to take care of these small fries. Really? Meng could not believe it, but I heard senior sister Chunshun say that your martial arts are very weak. Zhang Xiaohua could not help but laugh. That depends on who you are competing with. Meng nodded slightly. While they were talking and laughing, the sound of horse hooves could be heard. The one leading the way was Huang Chong from the Fallen Star Alliance. Zhang Xiaohua and Dream ignored him and continued to move forward. Huang Chong and the rest chased after them, and the 5 of them surrounded the 2 of them, stopping them from moving any further. Zhang Xiaohua frowned and cupped her hands. This, senior brother Huang, you are. Huang Chong put on a fake smile and said, nothing. I just feel that we are fated to meet, so I would like to invite you to our Fallen Star Alliance for a gathering. Zhang Xiaohua glanced at everyone and asked, I have something important to do and dare not delay. How about I go to the Fallen Star Alliance to visit Brother Huang after I am done? How dare you? Huang Chong's expression changed, and he said angrily, you are just a disciple of a nameless sect. The Fallen Star Alliance thinks highly of you, but you don't want to give me face. Do you want me to lose face just like that? Zhang Xiaohua said in fear, Brother Huang, please calm down. I have something to do at my sect and dare not delay. Please forgive me, Brother Huang. Wait for me to come back. Huang Chong waved his hand. What is so urgent? You don't even care about the Fallen Star Alliance? Haha, this is a secret of the sect. It is not convenient to tell you, Brother Huang. Huang Chong asked again, I don't care about your beta school matters. Oh, by the way, do you need 2 people to do it? Zhang Xiaohua said in a daze, no need. Just 1 person is enough. Ha, that's good. Huang Chong glanced at Meng and said with a smile, if that is the case, then you might as well go by yourself. Let your senior sister come with us to the Fallen Star Alliance as a guest. How can that be? Zhang Xiaohua was puzzled. Why don't we let senior sister go, and I will go with Brother Huang to the Fallen Star Alliance. Before Huang Chong could say anything, Meng became impatient and said angrily, we are disciples of the fragrance cult. Now that we are here to do something, do you have the guts to do it? Fragrance cult? Huang Chong's expression was very interesting. First, he was shocked, then he laughed. His eyes were full of mockery. Finally, he raised his head and laughed, almost to the point of tears. He pointed at them and said, I didn't believe you when you said you were from the beta school. Now I do. You can pretend to be from any sect. Even if you're from the Tenryu sect, I will think about it and think about it. Don't you know? There's still more than a year before the fragrance cult disciples go into the Jianghu. Meng was stunned and speechless. Chong Huang continued, I'll also advise your inexperienced teachers to educate you. Although the cult of fragrance has disciples in Jianghu, they only accept male disciples. They never accept female disciples. You say you are a disciple of the cult of fragrance, but why don't you wear a palace dress and a veil? Then Huang Chong waved his fan and said, Little brother, it seems like this is your first time in the Jianghu. Think about it. If you are invited to the Fallen Star Alliance, do you need me to personally invite you? Besides, the Fallen Star Alliance has a lot of country bumpkins like you. Who wants you? He then turned to Meng and said, Miss, what Beidou school? It is just a small sect that deceives people. Since you are so old and your martial arts are not good, why don't you join the Fallen Star Alliance? In a few years, you will become a famous heroine in the Jianghu. In a few years? Zhang Xiaohua was about to make a move, But when she heard this, she was surprised and said, "In a few years, you will make my senior sister's martial arts great success?" Why don't I believe it? In a few years? Martial arts great success? Huang Chong laughed when he heard this and said, "You think the Fallen Star Alliance is a Tenryu sect? How can we make your martial arts great success in a few years? If there is such a good thing, the Fallen Star Alliance would be the #1 sect in the Jianghu. Then, how can I make my senior sister a famous heroine in Jianghu?" Zhang Xiaohua was even more confused. Chapter 962. To become a famous heroine, must one be skilled in martial arts? Huang Chong waved his fan with an unfathomable expression. "One look, and I can tell that you are disciples of a remote sect. Could it be that the famous green-clothed fairy, merciless Guanyin, and Flying Plum in the Snow are all heroines with great martial arts? Who are these people?" Zhang Xiaohua probed. "You don't even know these people?" Huang Chong seemed to have seen the funniest thing in the world. The 5 people around him also laughed. A lean man said in a sharp voice, "You brat, let me tell you. These are famous heroines in the Jianghu. If you don't even know this, how can you walk the Jianghu?" "Ha ha!" Zhang Xiaohua touched her nose and smiled bitterly. Huang Chong laughed for a moment and kept his fan. "These people's martial arts are not high. Why are they so famous?" Zhang Xiaohua shrugged and shook her head. "How would I know?" Huang Chong looked at the dream and sighed. "Those with great martial arts are naturally famous. But how many women with great martial arts are there in the world? Do you think that all the women in the world are like the disciples of the incense cult? Moreover, practicing martial arts takes time. Once you master it, your youth will be gone. How can you be called a heroine? Also, being famous does not only require great martial arts. Even if your martial arts are high, your face is ugly. Who would treat you as a heroine? However, if you have a beautiful face, even if your martial arts are not good, you still have a chance to be a heroine. That's strange. Could it be that this face is the first choice to be a heroine?" Zhang Xiaohua asked. "Little brother is right. You have merciless Guanyin's martial arts. How did you become a heroine in the Jianghu? Isn't it because of your outstanding appearance? There are many outstanding beauties. Could it be that they are all heroines?" "Of course not. There's a key problem that needs to be solved," Huang Chong said mysteriously. "What is that?" Zhang Xiaohua's curiosity was ignited. "Find a powerful godfather." "Godfather?" Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. What does being a heroine have to do with having a godfather?" Hee, I'll let you, a poor country boy, know which of the 3 most famous heroines I mentioned just now doesn't have a famous godfather behind them. As long as I have a godfather, I will have martial arts manuals, money, and jewelry. Fame? That's easy. If he secretly found a few unknown thieves to do some bad things in front of others, and then let these goddaughters happen to bump into them and punish them, wouldn't it be righteous and righteous? If the price is a little higher, you can even buy her life. She will be known as the ruthless Guanyin. Moreover, with a godfather, no matter where you go, they will have to give in to you and follow your wishes for the sake of your godfather. Even if you make a mistake or offend someone, they will have to swallow their anger. Even if they don't give face to the monk, they have to give face to the Buddha. This is not a joke. Zhang Xiaohua was enlightened. So that's how heroines come about. But are there no real heroines in the pugilistic world? Of course, there are true heroines, but their reputation may not be as illustrious as these people who have added fuel to the fire. But is there any meaning in being a heroine? Some want fame, some want money, and some for power, for sex. Everyone has different needs and desires. Since you could be a heroine, you will have fame, money, and everything. Who would care about this heroine's false pretenses? At this point, Huang Chong became a little impatient. He looked at the sky and said, "There are many reasons behind this, and I can't explain them all in a short time. Little brother and senior sister Gay should follow me back to the Star Alliance. The days ahead are long, so let's talk slowly." Then, he didn't forget to add, although the Fallen Star Alliance can't compare to the Tenryu sect, it is on the same level as the Xiangxiang cult the Dalan Temple, and the Righteous Alliance. The words of the Fallen Star Alliance carry more weight than any so-called godfather. Zhang Xiaohua snorted and cupped her hands. Thank you for your advice, Brother Huang. But we are not interested in godfathers or heroines. Brother Huang, please make way. Huang Chang's expression changed. He said angrily, You rascal, you really don't know what's good for you. If it wasn't for Peng, if it wasn't for your senior sister in the Fallen Star Alliance, I wouldn't have said so much to you. All right, I'll leave my words here. You have to go whether you want to or not. My Fallen Star Alliance has always been a man of our word. I'm not going. Zhang Xiaohua sneered. Ha, good. I like men like you. Huang Chang was so angry that he laughed. However, men like you always don't live long. Is that so? Zhang Xiaohua wasn't nervous at all. This is the legendary saying that good people don't live long, while bad people live long. It seems like Brother Huang's life is quite long. Who has the patience to argue with you? Huang Chang waved his hand. In any case, you are a nameless junior. If it wasn't for your senior sister, this young master would have already killed you. Since you don't know what's good for you, then become a nameless spirit. As he spoke, he waved his hand and shouted, Capture this untactful brat. Regardless of whether he's dead or alive, be careful of this woman. Peng thinks highly of her. Yes. The 5 people surrounding them got the order and surrounded them. Meng's expression changed. She clenched her teeth. Zhang Xiaohua laughed. Meng, see? This is the true nature of Jianghu. The strong bully the weak, the strong bully the weak, and the bloody rain. You need to be careful. Meng blamed. Haha, don't worry. Since they want your brother Xiaohua's life, then I'll let you see Brother Xiaohua's methods. Let's see if he is as useless as Chunchen said. Before he finished speaking, he held the great wisdom sword in his hand, and his body suddenly rose. Like an eagle pouncing a rabbit, he flew towards one of the people. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's excellent qinggong, Huang Chang's eyes twitched. Just as he was about to warn her to be careful, Zhang Xiaohua's sword came down like lightning. Although this strike was very similar to the one Zhang Xiaohua had used before he entered the fragrant cult, there was a huge difference. This was the result of Zhang Xiaohua's meticulous study of the heaven-shocking strike over the past month. When a man on the horse saw Zhang Xiaohua's heavy sword coming at him, he was first disdainful, then surprised. However, when he felt a gust of wind that made it difficult for him to breathe, and the sword seemed to have locked down all the space he could dodge, he was scared out of his wits. He hesitated, not knowing where to thrust his sword. With a kacha sound, the man's sword finally pierced out. It was a pity that his sword was broken into 2 by the heavy sword. Moreover, the sword didn't stop Great Wisdom Sword from falling. With a poo sound, Great Wisdom Sword fell on the man's chest. The man's chest immediately caved in. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell on his horse. Not only that, Great Wisdom Sword continued to fall. With a pa sound, it hit the man's horse. With a kacha sound, the horse looked up to the sky and neighed in grief. Its 4 hooves went limp and it fell to the ground. Blood seeped out of its mouth and nose. Huang Chang was shocked. What kind of strength is this? While Huang Chang was panicking, Zhang Xiaohua's figure didn't stop at all. She killed 2 people like 2 horses. This is bad. It seems that this young man has some skills. Huang Chang was panicking at first. However, when he saw that Zhang Xiaohua was still using the same sword, his heart gradually calmed down. He held the folding fan in his right hand and reached out with his left hand to pull out the sword at his waist. He circulated his energy and rushed towards Zhang Xiaohua. You also want to come? Zhang Xiaohua, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly turned around and said as if she had eyes behind her back. You. Huang Chang was shocked. Without waiting for Huang Chang to get close, Zhang Xiaohua lifted the Great Wisdom Sword and easily killed 2 people. The remaining person's eyes flashed, and he wanted to retreat. He turned his horse around and wanted to escape. Zhang Xiaohua didn't let him escape. Her figure didn't even touch the ground. She floated forward and stepped on his head. With a poo sound, Zhang Xiaohua's head was pushed into his chest. Zhang Xiaohua took advantage of the momentum and turned around. The great wisdom sword in her hand smashed towards Huang Chang's head. Huang Chang originally despised Zhang Xiaohua's swordsmanship. However, when he faced this heavy sword himself, he understood the terror of this sword. Zhang Xiaohua had comprehended the essence of the heaven's startling staff of the immortal way. How could a martial artist like Huang Chang imagine it? Although Huang Chang's martial arts were second-rate in Jianghu and were much stronger than the previous 5 people, under this sword he was no different from the other 5 people. Even the way he died was the same. With a poo sound, the heavy sword broke Huang Chang's long sword and fell on his chest. In Huang Chang's incredulous and unwilling eyes, his chest immediately collapsed. Wow, Meng's eyes flashed with stars. She covered her mouth with her hand. She never thought that Zhang Xiaohua would win so easily and kill without hesitation. You broke through the mountain like this, right? Meng asked. Although Zhang Xiaohua had told her about the process of breaking through the mountain, Meng still couldn't believe it when she saw it with her own eyes. No, those are the disciples of the Rue Jin Palace. I can't kill them. Zhang Xiaohua was afraid that Meng would say that he was ruthless. He explained, but these people obviously wanted to kill me. Moreover, I can't leave them alive. Meng didn't care. She patted her chest and said, I didn't expect. You are so powerful in Jianghu. It makes me feel relieved. Next time when there is a chance, let me practice. How about it? Zhang Xiaohua scratched his head. He had never seen Meng display her martial arts. Naturally, he didn't know the level of her martial arts. However, she was the disciple of the Mo Nun Palace of the Fragrant Cult. Although she only had 4 or 5 years of cultivation, she could be considered a chivalrous woman in Jianghu. Thinking of chivalrous woman, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but think of Huang Chang's godfather. He felt disgusted for no reason. What? You don't believe me? Meng was a little angry when she saw Zhang Xiaohua didn't speak. No. Zhang Xiaohua waved his hand and said, Next time, I'll leave it to you. Okay, I'll make sure you're satisfied. Meng Yanran smiled sweetly, but suddenly asked, Io, after talking for so long, you still haven't told me what hunting is. Chapter 963. Zhang Xiaohua rode on the odd beast while Dream rode on the white horse. They chatted and laughed as they continued their journey. It didn't seem like they had just gone through a battle of life and death. Zhang Xiaohua took advantage of Dream's inattention and threw a few fire talismans on the ground. She separated a few strands of divine sense and controlled the fire talismans to burn the corpses of Huang Chang and the others. Not a single trace was left behind. They didn't encounter any trouble in the next few days. They arrived at Vow City safely. Zhang Xiaohua followed the convoy of Fragrance Cult to Fragrance Cult. It took almost a month. This time they came out quickly. It only took a dozen days. Looking at Macho City in the distance, Zhang Xiaohua involuntarily released his divine sense. The entire Macho City did not seem much different from before. There was still a faint fluctuation of primordial qi at the bottom of Macho Lake. However, there were many more Jianghu people in the city, dressed in martial attire and wielding weapons. Could it be that there's a martial arts competition for marriage? Why is Vow City so lively? So this is Carefree City? Meng looked at it curiously. You haven't been here before? Shirtai didn't bring you here? Zhang Xiaohua asked casually. I'm not too sure. I don't remember. I was muddle-headed at that time. Everything was out of curiosity. Perhaps I have been here before. I don't remember. Dream shook her head. Following the crowd into Vow City, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, What did Lord Leader tell you? Didn't I tell you? This is a matter of Mo Xin's disciple. I can't tell you. You don't have to follow me. Let's find a place to meet at night. You want to go alone? Zhang Xiaohua was still worried. She thought for a moment and said, There's a Moon Elder Temple in the west of the city. That's the only place I know. Why don't we meet there? Moon Elder Temple? A strange expression appeared on Meng's face as she said, I seem to have heard that this Yu Lao is in charge of people's marriage. You. How come you are so familiar with this place? This. Zhang Xiaohua was somewhat regretful. She could only stammer. That day, when I sent Nye Qinyu to the west of the city, it was on the way to Rejuvenation Valley. I just passed by at night. Hee hee. Meng Meng didn't say anything and just smiled. However, this smile seemed to make Zhang Xiaohua feel worse than any words. All right, take this. Zhang Xiaohua took out a jade pendant from her bosom and attached a strand of her divine sense to it before handing it over to Dream. Why are you giving this to me? Meng felt a little strange. Why are you giving it to me for no reason? I don't want your things. Don't. Zhang Xiaohua forced the jade pendant to Dream and said with a smile, This is my amulet. I got it from the Taoist temple. Later, when I'm not by your side, I'll let it protect you. What do you think? I don't think so. Meng held the small jade pendant in her hand and felt sweet inside. She hung the jade pendant on her waist and scolded. What are you talking about? Although my martial arts aren't good, you've practiced for 5 years, and so have I. There's no reason for my martial arts to be worse than yours. There shouldn't be anything that can't be moved around in this Vow City. All right, you're the best. No matter what, it's still my goodwill. Zhang Xiaohua felt at ease when she saw Meng accept the jade pendant. She watched Meng leave and then stood on the side of the road. She rubbed her chin and thought for a moment. Then she stopped a passerby and asked a few questions. Following the direction the passerby pointed, they walked through several streets and arrived in front of a large gate. She saw that the gate was the entrance of cave. On both sides of the gate, there were stone lions that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. They stepped on embroidered balls and looked mighty. There was a golden signboard above the gate that said, Tongda Escort Agency. Zhang Xiaohua looked around and tied the David's deer to the gate before walking in. All the escort agencies in the world had the same layout. Zhang Xiaohua had been in the Lotus Escort Agency for a long time and found the place very easily. At this time, there weren't many people in the agency. When Zhang Xiaohua arrived at the place, she was greeted by a short and skinny escort. He cupped his hands and said, Little brother, are you here to deliver goods or people? Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, I have a letter that needs to be delivered to the vicinity of Pingyang City. I wonder if your agency can accept it? Deliver a letter? The escort was stunned. He looked at Zhang Xiaohua from head to toe. She was dressed in bright clothes and didn't look crude. He didn't dare to be negligent and said apologetically, Little brother, is there a mistake? My Tongda Escort Agency has always been a guarantor of people and goods. We have never delivered letters before. You don't deliver letters? Zhang Xiaohua scratched her head. Why can't you deliver letters? The escort frowned slightly, but he still said patiently, Letters aren't worth much. How do you expect us to deliver them? A letter from home is worth 10,000 gold. Look at you. Zhang Xiaohua lamented. Haha, little brother, better go to the storm carriage company on the street. They should be here to deliver letters. Little brother, you have found the wrong place. Carriage company? They are in charge of delivering letters? Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. She had never thought that the storm carriage company would be in charge of delivering letters. Seeing this, the escort ignored her and cupped his fists to greet the rest. Zhang Xiaohua blushed a little and went out to look for a carriage company. Indeed, when the storm carriage company's worker heard her, he asked, Do you want to send to Pingyang City or somewhere near Pingyang City? If it is too far away from Pingyang City, we will charge a fee. Zhang Xiaohua was elated to hear this. He was obviously an expert. Then, do you deliver to Lu Town in Pingyang City? Lu Town? Please wait a moment. I will check. The staff said and was about to go to the counter to check. Don't be anxious. Don't be anxious. Do you deliver to the Guozhuang house in the north of Lu Town? Zhang Xiaohua quickly asked. Little brother, can you make it clear in one go? The staff looked at her angrily. Huh. Zhang Xiaohua was in a good mood and didn't mind. She said, This is my first time delivering a letter. How would I know so much? Okay. The staff returned to the counter and took out something that looked like an account book. He flipped through it for a long time. Just as Zhang Xiaohua was feeling uneasy, he smiled and said, I found it. You can get to Lu Town. Our storm carriage company has a business in Lu Town called Storm Carriage Company. We can entrust them to deliver it. However, the Guizhuang house in the north of Lu Town, our carriage can't reach there. I'm afraid we can't deliver it. It can't be, Zhang Xiaohua wailed. Then, of course, it's not that we can't negotiate. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua was anxious, the staff smiled and said, however, we will have to make a trip to the Guizhuang house alone. We will have to charge more. Sure. Zhang Xiaohua didn't care about this and asked, how much will it cost? Copper coins? The staff laughed and picked up the abacus. He made some calculations and said with a smile, customer, I've calculated it. It's exactly 3 taels of silver. 3 taels of silver. Zhang Xiaohua shouted, why is it so much? Haha. As you know, Macho City is far from Lu Town. You still have to entrust someone to deliver it to the Guizhuang house. This is very complicated. This little bit of silver. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that you are in a hurry, it wouldn't be so cheap. In a hurry? Cheap. Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. It was probably because he was in a hurry that he asked for more silver. But did he have a choice? However, although he had a lot of treasures in his purse, he lacked silver. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, shop owner, please wait for a moment. I'll be back soon. Not long after, Zhang Xiaohua turned back and took out a letter and 2 taels of silver. She handed it over and said, shop owner, this is 3 taels of silver. Take it and deliver it to the address on this letter. The shop assistant beamed with joy and weighed the silver in his hand before putting it into his pocket. Then, he took the letter and looked at what was written on it. He smiled and said, sir, please be at ease. My storm carriage company's reputation has always been good. I will definitely deliver this letter. Zhang Xiaohua nodded and said, then I'll have to trouble you. After she finished speaking, she turned and left. After Zhang Xiaohua left, a trace of confusion flashed across the staff's eyes. He quickly walked to the back of the shop, and not long after, a lean man came out with the taels of silver that Zhang Xiaohua gave him. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the lean man came back and handed the taels of silver to the staff. He whispered a few words into the staff's ear. The staff frowned slightly, but his eyes were shining with joy. He couldn't help but nod his head. Although Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense was powerful, he didn't expect such a thing to happen. He left the carriage company and walked to the street with a relaxed mood. He couldn't go back to the Guizhuang house, but he could use the carriage company to bring the news that he and his second brother were still alive back to the Guizhuang house. This way, his parents wouldn't be worried. There was only one sentence in the letter. When he entered the carriage company, he checked with his divine sense and didn't find anyone strange. There shouldn't be any mistakes. There were still many people on the streets of Sorrowless Lake. Zhang Xiaohua stopped for a moment and found a tea house. He asked for a pot of tea from the tea server and sat upstairs to look at the people below. Just as he was thinking about the time he met Ji Xiaohua in Soning Town in the same tea house, a few words from a few well-dressed men beside him fell into his ears. Brother, this rejuvenation valley is really something. They've been surrounded for more than 20 days, and they still haven't been breached. Oh my, that's right. That's the Soaring Dragon Villa, Moon Sea Sect, Flying Fish Sect, Raging Wave Sect, and more than 10 other sections. Yet, they still haven't taken down this rejuvenation valley. They're really something. What's so strange about that? I heard that the entire Jade Foundation Alliance is here. Of course, they can withstand it. Forget it. How would the entire Jade Foundation Alliance dare to come? Weren't they afraid that someone would raid their lair? Even if the Deer Cry sect was included, there were only 6 sections. How could they compare to the other sects? Although Rejuvenation Valley has held on for more than 20 days, it will be breached sooner or later. This Rejuvenation Valley. I don't know how they offended the Fragrant Cult and lost their protection. Serves them right. When Zhang Xiaohua heard this, her expression changed greatly. Chapter 964. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua's face immediately changed. She took out a piece of silver and threw it on the table, shouting, "Shopkeeper, the bill." She got up and went downstairs. The waiter came over and saw the large piece of silver on the table. He quickly shouted, "Customer, there's too much silver." But when he reached the stairs, there was no one there. Rejuvenation Valley. When the sun rose, the orange light shone in front of the 100-herb hall. Everything was full of vitality. But at this time in the hall, more than 10 people were frowning. How could there be such a beautiful scene in their eyes? Valley Master Nya was sitting in the seat of honor. His left arm was wrapped in a white cloth. Although the white cloth was pure white, there were faint traces of blood seeping out. His black hair was also somewhat messy. On the left side, there was a large patch of hair that was much shorter, as if it had been cut off by a sharp weapon. Looking at the people in the hall, other than Nye Qianyu and Nye Qianrong, the others were more or less injured. Even Master Yu of the Deer Cry sect had a slanted cut on his face. Although it was not enough to kill him, it was enough to disfigure him. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot. It was obvious that they did not rest last night. Nye Qianyu and Nye Qianrong's faces were pale and could not bear it. Valley Master Nye looked at his two daughters with heartache and said, "Little Yu, Qianrong, go rest first. They attacked last night, and there were countless casualties. They probably won't come again for a while. When they come again, I'll send someone to call you." "I'm not tired, father." Nye Qianyu bit her lips and said, "You and the other martial uncles should rest first. This 5 elements formation needs my attention. If I'm not careful and they attack, it won't be good. Little Yu, is your body okay?" Nye Qianrong also advised, "You're the same as us. You haven't rested for several days. Don't. It's okay, big sister. I can support you." Nye Qianyu forced a smile. "Don't lie to big sister. It's not like I don't know your body. I reckon that I've already taken away half of your life. If you didn't try to be brave, Sai." Nye Qianyu was also puzzled. She had been weak since she was young and could not practice martial arts. If it were in the past, she would have collapsed long ago. However, she had not had a good rest for several days. Although she was tired, it was not as serious as what her father and elder sister said. Could it be that this is related to the mental cultivation method that Big Brother Ren taught me? Nye Qianyu thought of the mental cultivation method that she often practiced but had no effect at all. She could not help but understand. AI, seeing that Nye Qianyu wasn't going to rest, Valley Master Nye couldn't help but sigh. He looked at everyone and bitterly smiled. "Big Brother C, brothers, and Brother Yu, I've implicated you all. Hee hee, it's already come to this point. What's the point of saying that?" Si Yakon chuckled. "We're all brothers of the Yuli Alliance. If we don't come to help, how can we call ourselves the Yuli Alliance?" "That's right, second brother Nya. I haven't seen you for a few years, but your martial arts have improved a lot. It's actually slightly higher than my Nigong cultivation." Ingzhizhu said, "Look at what you're saying. It's as if your second brother will never be able to compare to you." Valley Master Nye did not mind. "Second brother Nye, sixth brother is right. I've always been curious. Your performance in the past 20 days has also been extraordinary. It's far beyond what I know of you. You are you." Si Yakon looked at Valley Master Nye and asked, "This?" Valley Master Nye smiled bitterly. "There is indeed a reason, but what? Are you saying that we brothers can't talk about it? Are you afraid that all of us brothers will surpass you?" Zwi Siqing laughed. No. Valley Master Nye knew that Zwi Siqing was joking. He shook his head and said, "If it's possible, I naturally hope that all of you can improve greatly in your martial arts. It's just that there are too few opportunities. Even Qing Xian and Fei, he didn't. Otherwise, they wouldn't have died in the hands of the enemy." When Mu Qing Xian and Fei he were mentioned, everyone fell silent. The two of them led the troops and killed the enemy in the 5 elements formation, but they were killed by the enemy. Their martial arts were not high, but they represented Rejuvenation Valley. They had to go. If Valley Master Nya had the means to improve their martial arts, he would have improved their martial arts long ago. They would not have died in the hands of the enemy. However, brothers, don't worry. If Rejuvenation Valley escapes this calamity and has such a fortuitous encounter, Rejuvenation Valley will definitely not disappoint you. "Huh, second brother, you've said too much. We only asked because we saw that Second Brother's martial arts had improved greatly. It'll be good if we have such an opportunity. But if we don't, we won't be jealous, Ma Fuhu said disapprovingly. Right, it's been 20 days. Elder Zhang and the others have gone out to travel. Shouldn't they have received the news and returned? Returned? What's the use of returning? Valley Master Nya smiled bitterly. Although the Five Elements formation is powerful and has blocked Longting Villa and the others, it can't kill people. Under Little Yu's guidance, it can only confuse the enemy. We still have to rely on our brothers from the Jade Foundation Alliance to kill the enemy. If we use the Five Elements formation, we will lose 300 of our own men, but we can't stop Longting Villa and the other sections. There aren't many disciples left in Rejuvenation Valley who can kill the enemy. Even if Elder Zhang and the others return, what can they do? It's better to let them escape. At least we can protect Rejuvenation Valley. Hearing this, Old Master Yu of Deer Cry Sect also smiled bitterly. That's right. We've been surrounded for 20 days, but no sects have come to help. Usually, when there's nothing to do, all the sects come to Rejuvenation Valley to take advantage of us. Now that there's trouble, none of them dare to come. This Jianghu is too realistic. Longting Villa and Yuehai Sect are even more despicable. They actually used Big Brother Run as an excuse. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have let Big Brother Run meddle in their affairs. Nie Qinyu said in exasperation. Sai, it's all. Valley Master Nie didn't know what to say. It's our Rejuvenation Valley's fault. Don't blame Ren Xiaoyao for this. Nie Qianrong consoled. This is probably related to the force that chased after Little Yu. If it weren't for them, why would Longting Villa make things difficult for us? I remember Ren Xiaoyao said that there was something wrong with this young Master Long, that's right. Ma Fuhu chimed in. But we've been watching them for a long time at Subdue Tiger Racecourse. We didn't find anything and were surrounded by them instead. It's been 20 days. I don't know how much longer we can hold on. Zhen Xian sighed. Outside Rejuvenation Mountain Villa, the original walls had disappeared. Only clouds of white fog were left covering the entire mountain villa. There were some different colors in the white fog. The white fog looked very faint, but the sunlight couldn't penetrate it. Even when the wind blew, the white fog billowed and couldn't be blown away. The sun gradually rose, but the outside of the white fog was still peaceful. When the sun was high in the sky, there was a sudden commotion on the east side. Not long after, an injured disciple ran into Hunter Herb Hall. Valley Master, there are a dozen people fighting with Longting Villa's men outside the Great Formation on the east side. From their shouts, it's the Whale Gang and the Second Miss. Chinshio, Valley Master Nye frowned. Why do they only arrive now? Valley Master Nye looked at Si Yakong, then at Elder Yu. He said in a low voice, I've already notified the Whale Gang, but Elder Yu arrived a long time ago, but the Whale Gang didn't reply. I originally thought that they wanted to draw a clear line between themselves and Rejuvenation Valley. I didn't expect that they would only arrive now. Could there be something fishy going on? I'm afraid there is. Si Yakong nodded. Longting Villa has been attacking for many days without success. They've also suffered great losses. They'll definitely think of other ways. This, the Whale Gang, might be one of their tricks. Zhou Siqing was quite certain. But Chinshio is also outside. Valley Master Nye didn't quite believe it. A married daughter is spilled. Ma Fuhu blurted out, but then realized something. He looked at Nye Qianrong and said with a smile, Little Rong, Martial Uncle wasn't talking about you. Nye Qianrong smiled bitterly and nodded. Valley Master Nye looked at the disciple who came to report, then instructed, Ignore them for now. Let's wait and see. If anything happens, report back. The disciple returned in the time it took to eat a meal. He reported, Valley Master, the Whale Gang sent 19 people. For have already died in battle, and there are 15 left. The second miss is anxiously crying outside the villa. She said that they brought 40 people, but now there are only a dozen left. If Rejuvenation Valley doesn't send help, they'll all be killed by Longting Villa. The Whale Gang's Elder Chong is also cursing. He said that he was blind. He came to Rejuvenation Valley to help, but he had good intentions. He also said that if Valley Master doesn't go out to help, no one else will come to help in the future. This Valley Master Nya was in a difficult position. He looked at Elder Chong, then at Si Yakong. The two sighed and said, "It depends on your decision. This is a difficult decision to make." Sigh. Valley Master Nya thought for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, "Fine. Then this old man will believe in familial love one more time." As he spoke, he stood up and said, "Little you, open up a small path in the great formation on the east side. We'll kill our way out. Once we bring your second sister and the others back, immediately close the path." "Yes, father." Nyechinyu nodded. She didn't forget to remind her father, if anything goes wrong, father will immediately return to the great formation. "And I understand." Valley Master Nya led the group out of the 100 Herb Hall. When they reached the area shrouded in white mist, the mist in front of them gradually thinned, revealing a small path. Valley Master Nya waved his hand and brought a few people with weapons in their hands. They used their Qin Gong to rush out. Outside, the soaring Dragon Mountain Villa's men were locked in battle with the Whale Gang's men. When they saw Valley Master Nya and the others emerge from the white mist, the Whale Gang members' faces lit up with joy. A short old man shouted, "Disciples, Valley Master Nya from Rejuvenation Valley has come to rescue us. Let's put in a little more effort and charge over." The Whale Gang disciple shouted, "Good, good, good. Kill, kill, kill." In an instant, their momentum was like a rainbow. It was as if they were working together from the inside and the outside. They slaughtered their way out of the encirclement of the people from Longting Villa. Chapter 965. The Whale Gang's disciples and Rejuvenation Valley's disciples met up. Without further ado, they turned around and rushed back to the villa. Valley Head Nya was also a bit more cautious. He had the disciples cover their backs to prevent any accidents from happening. The Whale Gang disciples were astonished when they saw the Rejuvenation Manor shrouded in white mist. When they saw the passageway through the mist, their astonishment was indescribable. The leader of the group was an old man who wasn't very tall. His triangular eyes blinked continuously, revealing the envy in his heart. The two groups entered the white mist. The mist swirled and returned to its original state. When everyone disappeared into the white mist, Manor Master Long looked on expressionlessly from a distant mountain forest. He waved his hand and ordered, "Follow the plan." "Yes." A disciple cupped his hands and left. A smile appeared on Manor Master Long's face as he disappeared into the forest. Elder Chong of the Whale Gang entered the white mist. All he could see was a vast expanse of whiteness. He couldn't see anything. He could only see the backs of the Rejuvenation Valley disciples. After following them for a long time and making several turns, his eyes suddenly lit up. He saw the Rejuvenation Manor from before. "Elder Chong!" A shout came from behind him. "Valley Master Nya, my in-laws. I'm ashamed that I came late to your rescue." "Haha, there's no need to say anything. It's good that you came. Please, come to Hunter Herb Hall for a chat." Nyechinyu also came out of the white mist. Her face was clearly paler than before. When she saw Nyechinshio, she said, "Second sister, your waist is injured?" Nyechinshio smiled and waved her hand. "It's nothing. It's just a cut from a sword. Hurry up and bandage it." Nye Chinrong also walked over. The three sisters chatted and entered the room. When everyone returned to 100 Herb Hall, Valley Master Nye said, "Old Brother Chong, this Nye can't thank you enough for coming to our aid. I heard from Chinchio that you lost dozens of people at the Soaring Dragon Manor. This Nye is truly apologetic." Elder Chong cupped his hands and said, "Old Brother Nye, this Chong hasn't come for a long time. I don't have any news. I'm afraid that you are a little—" "Not at all." Valley Master Nye shook his head with a smile. "Father-in-law, it's not that my Whale Gang didn't come to your aid in time. It's just that the Jade Foundation Alliance has already come to your aid. Even if my Whale Gang comes, we'll only be able to contribute some meager strength. It won't be of much use. Chang Sheng stood up and explained. After considering all of this, Father secretly contacted some sects in the southern Walene that were dissatisfied with Longting Mountain Villa's actions. There were 11 sects in total. However, in order to conceal the news, we didn't dare to inform father-in-law, fearing that Longting Mountain Villa would find out. It was only yesterday that my whale gang led 11 sects and 300 people to Worry City. When Valley Master Nye heard this, his expression changed greatly. He stood up and walked in front of Old Man Chong. He bowed to the ground and said with shame, "Old Man Chong is so righteous. This Nye really can't compare. I'm ashamed. How could that be? You and I are related by marriage. Furthermore, the Soaring Dragon Manor has gone too far. Sending 11 sects as reinforcements isn't just the whale gang's idea, but the entire southern martial world's. This is also Rejuvenation Valley's repayment for their kindness to the southern martial arts world." Valley Master Nye seemed to understand now, and a gratified smile appeared on his face. However, letting the whale gang charge into the encirclement and losing so many of our brothers really makes this Nye sad. Living in the pugilistic world is like licking blood from a blade's edge. Everyone is prepared to die. Moreover, Rejuvenation Valley has always been known for their benevolence. Being able to shed their blood for you is also a worthy death. Old Man Chong was a bit dejected as he said, "Besides, if this Chong hadn't come and brought this news to Old Man Nye, even if our 11 sect disciples attacked from the outside, Rejuvenation Valley wouldn't have been able to coordinate with us and defeat Longting Mountain Villa." Valley Master Nye nodded. Old Man Chong's words are reasonable. Longting Mountain Villa has used all sorts of schemes to lure us out in the past 20 days, but we didn't fall for it. If Old Man Chong really did attack, my Rejuvenation Valley wouldn't dare believe it. This Longting Mountain Villa is also ruthless. They actually surrounded Rejuvenation Valley so tightly that not even a drop of water can trickle through. If it weren't for the other sects attracting attention from outside, my whale gang really wouldn't have been able to enter. But then again, this Chong didn't think that we would be able to attack Rejuvenation Valley so easily. Otherwise, this Chong wouldn't have waited for the news and would have led people to attack directly. Old Man Chong, this is considered lucky. Rejuvenation Valley had just fought fiercely with Longting Mountain Villa for an entire night. If it were any other time, how could you have gotten so close? Old Man, you said with a smile. Is that so? Old Man Chong's face was full of astonishment. It seems that the heavens really are protecting Rejuvenation Valley, allowing this old man to enter so easily. Moreover, this is also the heavens' help. Our pincer attack this time was successful. This, gang leader Chong, Zui Siqing coughed and said, The Jade Foundation Alliance hasn't thought of breaking out of the encirclement yet. This pincer attack, shouldn't we have a long-term plan? What? Are you going to defend Rejuvenation Valley to the death? Old Man Chong raised his eyebrows, feeling that this answer was extremely inconceivable. Although the white fog outside the villa is very powerful, but if we are suppressed by Longting Mountain Villa, we can only retreat like a turtle. We can only be annihilated forever. Si Yakong stroked his beard and said with a smile, Old Man Chong, you're wrong. What Siqing said was only a long-term plan. She didn't say that we shouldn't break out of the encirclement. Right now, our Jade Foundation Alliance has easily taken over Rejuvenation Valley and killed many enemies of Longting Mountain Villa. If we suddenly change our strategy, it's possible. Old Man Chong didn't think much of it. He waved his hand and said, The men I've brought are currently lying in ambush in the forest, not far from Rejuvenation Valley. If we cooperate with the outside, at the very least, most of us can escape from here. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. As long as Brother Niel leads the disciples of Rejuvenation Valley out of here, there's always a chance for us to succeed. Moreover, if it's as Brother C says, that Longting Mountain Villa's vitality has been greatly damaged and that even our whale gang can't stop them, then we should cooperate with them from the outside and annihilate them in one go. Hearing these words and thinking about the 11 sects outside as reinforcements, even Si Yakong and the others felt a rush of excitement, let alone Valley Master Nya. However, they still couldn't be sure if there were really people from the 11 sects outside the valley. Gang Leader Chong, then, how do we contact our brothers outside the valley? Ma Fuhu asked. Old Man Chong took out a signal from his bosom and said with a smile, "This is my whale gang's special signal. Once we've finished our preparations, we'll follow our previous agreement. As long as we release this signal into the air, we'll attack from the inside out." Then Gang Leader Chong, "What time did you agree on?" Zhang Xian suddenly interrupted. "Oh, I've temporarily agreed on midnight. Longting Mountain Villa has been attacking for a day, but they still haven't stopped at night? Isn't that when they're at their weakest?" After Old Man Chong finished speaking, he said apologetically, "But I didn't expect that Longting Mountain Villa would attack from morning to night. This is difficult." Si Yakong looked at Valley Master Nya and said, "Then let's do as Gang Leader Chong says for now. Let's discuss it again." "All right, Brother Chong, it must be tiring for you to come from afar. Why don't you take a rest first?" Valley Master Nya stood up. Just as he was about to leave, he heard hurried footsteps outside. When he looked up, a Rejuvenation Valley disciple covered in blood ran in and said loudly, reporting to Valley Master, "Longting Mountain Villa has launched another attack. Third Miss, please hurry and take charge of the Great Formation. Also, the brothers of Rejuvenation Valley who were lying in ambush in the Golden Formation have suffered heavy casualties. There's almost no one who can fight. Valley Master, please think of a way." "What? Longting Mountain Villa is attacking again?" Nie Qinyu walked out with her two sisters. She was very surprised. "Little you, I'm afraid that Longting Mountain Villa has seen us attack. Perhaps they're angry out of humiliation, or perhaps they're afraid that something unexpected will happen. That's why they seized the time to attack." Nie Qinyu frowned. Then she said to Valley Master Nya, "Father, Rejuvenation Valley's matter this time might have something to do with my recommendation. I feel very guilty." "Yes, father-in-law, your son-in-law thinks so too. If it wasn't for my nephew, then the incense cult might not have," Chong Sheng said sincerely. "AI, now that things have come to this, what's the point of saying all this? Let's think of a way to get through this crisis." Valley Master Nye sighed and waved his hand. Seeing Nye Qinyu turn around and leave, Nye Qinxiu said anxiously, "Little sister, who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, can still contribute to Rejuvenation Valley. My martial arts are even stronger than big sister's. There's no reason for me not to go." "Father, I just heard a disciple report that our Rejuvenation Valley's disciples have suffered heavy casualties. Chong Sheng and I didn't bring many disciples this time, only a dozen or so. If we can contribute, then we'll contribute." When Valley Master Nye heard this, he frowned slightly. He raised his eyes and looked at Si Yakong. After exchanging a glance, he thought to himself, although the whale gang came suddenly, they're still relatives by marriage. Moreover, I was the one who presided over the 5 Elements Great Formation. What can a dozen or so people do? Even if there are some abnormalities, it's fine. Thus, he nodded and said, "Rejuvenation Valley doesn't have any disciples left. If you want to go, then go. However, you must listen to Little Yu's arrangements. Otherwise, if you fall into the Great Formation, your lives will be in danger." Nye Qinxiu was overjoyed. She nodded and said, "Your daughter understands." Old Master Chong also stood up. "In-law, I won't rest either. Let's get through this matter first." "Oh, in that case, I'll have to trouble old Brother Chong. Let's discuss the pincer attack tonight." All right, take your time to discuss. There's still time," Old Master Chong said as he led the whale gang members out with Nye Qinyu. Nye Qinyu brought the whale gang to a corner and briefly explained the things they needed to pay attention to. She pointed at a few Rejuvenation Valley disciples and said, "Second sister, you don't need to take the initiative to attack. Just be like these disciples. Wait for the enemy to walk up to you, then quietly attack. However, you must take the enemy's life the moment you attack. Otherwise, you'll be exposed in front of them. Niechinchio was shocked. Little you are. Since when did Rejuvenation Valley have such a miraculous thing? Why didn't I know about it? Niechinyu smiled but didn't answer. Niechinchio said again, if you don't want to tell me, then forget it. Xiaoyu, go ahead. I can do such a simple thing well. Okay, be careful, second sister. Niechinyu nodded and left in a hurry. Less than half an hour after Niechinyu left, the battle cries of the soaring Dragon Mountain Villa drew closer. Niechinchio looked at Changsheng, and Changsheng looked at old Master Chang. Both of them nodded, and the dozen or so whale gang disciples gathered around Niechinchio. Niechinchio calmly took out something from her bosom. Chapter 966. By the time the battle cries from the soaring dragon villa drew closer, the whale gang disciples had already formed a circle. Niechinchio stood in the middle, taking out a diamond-shaped object from her bosom. The object was light purple, and a tear-shaped object was suspended in the middle of the diamond-shaped object. This should be the place. Elder Chang looked around and said, Villa Lord Long said that this object must be placed in a place where the Rejuvenation Valley disciples appear. It cannot be placed anywhere else. At this moment, a person dressed in whale gang, disciple robes, stepped out from the crowd and walked up to Elder Chang. He smiled and said, This is the place. Thank you for your hard work, gang leader Chang. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have been able to find this place no matter how much effort we put in. You're welcome. This is part of my duty. It's all for the master's plan. Elder Chang said politely. The ordinary disciple didn't say anything else. He walked up to Niechinchio and took the diamond-shaped object. He sat cross-legged in the middle of the crowd, holding the object in his right hand and taking out a small stone from his bosom with his left hand. The disciple circulated his energy for a long time. The small stone in his left hand glowed faintly. At the same time, the diamond-shaped object in his right hand glowed purple. Although the purple light was dim, when it shone on the white mist, it was like boiling water splashing on snow. The white mist immediately disappeared. This disappearance seemed to spread. Silently, a large patch of white mist didn't even wait for the purple light to pass through. It immediately turned transparent. Not only that, but at the same time, the white fog in other parts of the Five Elements formation also disappeared abruptly, revealing the Jade Foundation Alliance disciples hidden within. More and more of the white fog was disappearing at an increasing speed, like a chain reaction. In less than 10 minutes, all the Jade Foundation Alliance disciples were exposed. Even Nye Chinyu, who was commanding the formation, and Valley Master Nye, who was channeling his inner energy, were exposed. Nye Chinyu's face was filled with astonishment. Father, what's going on? Valley Master Nye activated a keystone in his hand, trying to activate the Five Elements formation. However, using his inner energy to simulate true energy, the keystone only glowed faintly before disappearing. Whale gang! Nye Chinyu immediately thought. Sure enough, a wild laugh rang out from where the whale gang was. Manor Lord Long's plans are flawless. Valley Master Nye, you should just surrender. Wasn't that old Master Chang's voice? Let's go. When Valley Master Nye heard this, he immediately pulled Nye Chinyu and rushed back to 100 Herb Hall. Behind them, the battle cries of the soaring Dragon Mountain Villa were several times louder than before. They must have been prepared for the whale gang's scheme to succeed. The battle cries of Longting Villa had long alarmed everyone in 100 Herb Hall. Seeing Nye Chinyu, who was commanding the Five Elements formation, and Valley Master Nye, who was controlling the Five Elements formation, returning, they were all shocked. Siak Hong shouted, Nye, you just went out without telling old man Chong. What? Let's not talk about it anymore. We've all been deceived by old Chong. He was sent by Longting Villa. Ingzhiju stomped his foot and cursed, Damn it! I knew that there was something wrong with this fellow. However, he still managed to sneak up on me. But right now, with the Longting Villa going all out, I'm afraid that our Jade Establishment Alliance. Don't panic. Valley Master Nie's expression didn't change. He waved his hand and said, "Before Longting Villa attacks, let's set up an empty fort strategy and escape from the back mountains of Rejuvenation Valley." Back mountains? Si Yakong asked curiously. Aren't the mountains of Rejuvenation Valley all extremely tall? What kind of path would there be? Enough idle chatter. Valley Master Nie snorted. Rejuvenation Valley has been operating here for 1,000 years. How could we not have a backup plan? Only the Valley Master of Rejuvenation Valley knows about this path. Even little you doesn't know about it. All right, there's no time to lose. Let's go. The members of the Jade Foundation Alliance saw that they had a chance of survival and did not intend to fight Longting Villa head-on. They counted their men and immediately retreated into the Inner Valley. The members of the Jade Foundation Alliance had been guarding Rejuvenation Valley for more than 20 days. Now, there were only a few dozen of them left. They left a few men of sacrifice to guard the entrance of the valley, while the rest followed Valley Master Nie to the Elixir Refinement area in the Inner Valley. Valley Master Nie walked to the Elixir Refinement room. There were 2 earth fires inside. One of them had an elixir furnace, while the other was empty. Valley Master Nie walked to the front of the elixir furnace and hugged it without hesitation. He exerted force in his arms and rotated the elixir furnace 3 times in the direction of the furnace. Then, he rotated it 4 times in the opposite direction. Everyone heard a creaking sound, and a stone cave appeared on the stone wall on the left. Inside the stone cave, there was a flight of stairs that led to the top. Let's go. Valley Master Nie heard the noise outside the valley and urged them. After everyone had entered the stone cave, Valley Master Nie moved to a spot inside the stone cave, and the stone cave slowly closed up outside the elixir refinement room. A commotion could be heard. The interior of the stone cave was pitch black. Yu Zhonglin lit a torch in the stone cave and led Nie Qianrong and Nie Qianxiu in the front. Behind them, everyone lit their own torches. Little Yu, did you know there was a mountain path here? Nie Qianrong asked quietly. I didn't know. I've never heard Father mention it before. This is also my first time here. Nie Qianyu said without hesitation. Seeing how certain Nie Qianyu was, Nie Qianrong didn't ask any further. Everyone looked curiously at the man-made staircase and quietly climbed up. The staircase was very long, and it took them a full hour to walk out of the cave. Everyone's eyes lit up. When they saw clearly, they had actually arrived at the peak of Rejuvenation Valley's Inner Valley. Si Yakong shook his head and said, Second brother Nie, you really hit it well. I never knew that your Rejuvenation Valley had such a secret passage. Beside him, Old Man Yu also asked curiously, Brother Nie, your Rejuvenation Valley is also strange. Why don't you just dig a secret passage that leads to the outside of the valley? What's the use of running to the top of the mountain? Valley Master Nie smiled and said, Brother Yu, I'll let you know that there's a secret passage that leads to the outside of the valley. However, the 2 secret passages are not together. As for why, the previous Valley Master didn't explain, so I can't answer you. Zhan Xian stomped his feet and said, Maybe there's earth fire in this mountain, or maybe there's some rock that can't be directly excavated. That's why we have to go to the top of the mountain first, and then go out of the valley? Who knows? I'm afraid it's not the time to be calculative. Let's get out of the valley first. Ma Fuhu urged. Don't worry. This secret passage can't be found by Longting Mountain Villa no matter what. We should rest here and wait until we have enough energy, or when Longting Mountain Villa's guard outside the valley relaxes. It won't be too late to go down. Valley Master Nie squinted his eyes and looked at the sun directly above his head. Ha ha! Just as Valley Master Nie's voice fell, a burst of wild laughter came from behind everyone. Valley Master Nie, how have you been? I just wanted to talk to you. Why is it so difficult? How did you find this secret passage? Valley Master Nya turned around and asked incredulously with his eyes wide open. Is there even need to ask? Of course, it's because of your precious second daughter. Manor Master Long laughed and pointed at Nya Qianxiu, who just walked out of the secret passage. Qianxiu, you! Valley Master Nya said angrily. How can you be such a traitor? Father, look at what you're saying. I'm a married woman, a spilled water. It's not like I'm a traitor. Nya Qianxiu smiled and said, Besides, what's the use of guarding the fragrant religion? You've worked hard for so many years, and they still didn't protect you. It's better to follow the master. Master? Valley Master Nya was shocked. Who's your master? This. Nya Qianxiu realized her slip of the tongue and immediately covered it up. Let's not talk about this first. You'll know sooner or later. The point is, if the fragrant religion doesn't protect Rejuvenation Valley, then Rejuvenation Valley will become a big piece of fat meat in the pugilistic world. You've seen it too. Cold Ice Garden, Divergent Yellow Mountain. They're all eyeing it covetously. Rather than letting them benefit, why not let my daughter benefit? Don't you think so? You. Valley Master Nya was so angry that his face turned white. Besides, I've asked the emissary for a promise from the master. If you submit to the master, then our Rejuvenation Valley won't be divided up by others. Father can still be the Valley Master of Rejuvenation Valley. You can just let me be the Valley Master of Rejuvenation Valley after 100 years. Evil creature, Valley Master Nya scolded. Father, don't be angry. This is all my wishful thinking. I still don't know if His Excellency will agree. His Excellency possesses remarkable abilities. If His Excellency doesn't agree, our Rejuvenation Valley will only have the path of annihilation. Of course, I and the Whale Gang have contributed a little to the Master. Who knows? Maybe the Master will agree. As they spoke, more and more people came to the mountain peak of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa. They surrounded the Jade Foundation Alliance in front of a stone wall. Old Nya, is there still a need to consider? Your daughter is doing this for your own good. She has no choice but to do this. She's also saving your Rejuvenation Valley. Bah, if it weren't for this evil creature, how could my Rejuvenation Valley be invaded by you? Now that you've turned black and white upside down, it's all your fault. Hee hee, old Nya, you think too highly of yourself. It's just a 5 elements formation. If it weren't for the fact that I don't have anything useful, I would have broken it long ago. You. How do you know this is a 5 elements formation? Valley Master Nya was a little surprised. Is there need to ask? Of course it was a master who taught me. The master is a celestial being. His wisdom is as vast as the sea, and his abilities are vast. Your little tricks are nothing in his eyes. Manor Master Long then shouted, Old Nya, haven't you realized it yet? Even now, you're still thinking of spreading the Incense Order's protection? Why don't you submit to the Master now? That way, you can still escape with your life. Also, give your Nya Qinyu to me as a concubine. Only then can I get rid of the shame of being humiliated by a nameless junior. Another voice said arrogantly. Nya Qinyu was ashamed and angry. When she looked up, she saw Mr. Long walking out of the secret passage. Chapter 9, 67. Young Master Long was still as handsome as ever. However, the lustful expression on his face revealed all his ugliness. When the sect masters of Freezing Ice Garden and the other sects heard Villa Master Long of Soaring Dragon Manor mention something about Master, they were shocked. Which one of them wasn't a sly old fox who had been in the pugilistic world for a long time? When they heard that Villa Master Long seemed to be summoning them to surrender, which was different from their agreement, their expressions changed subconsciously. When they heard young Master Long's arrogance, their hearts were once again at ease. Frozen Ice Garden's sect Master Peng smiled and said, Young Master Long is indeed a dragon among men. Your words are exactly what this old man wants. Rejuvenation Valley used his daughter as bait to lure us in and humiliated us. Now that we have taken down Rejuvenation Valley, we will humiliate his daughter and give them a taste of their own medicine. Flying Fish Sex Zhou Tai stood beside Villa Master Long and whispered, Villa Master Long, right now, we're like fire and water with Rejuvenation Valley and Yuli Alliance. How can there be any room for reconciliation? Why don't we destroy them on the spot? 1 valley, 2 sects, and 3 horse farms will be our spoils of war. We can discuss it later. A bunch of ignorant fools. Manor Master Long despised these boorish people from the bottom of his heart. He thought to himself, who knows how many treasures this Jade Foundation Alliance has behind the scenes? Even this 5 elements formation. If it wasn't for Master's men, how could we have broken it? Just Rejuvenation Valley alone has the legendary item of the Immortal Tao. Needless to say, the other 4 sects have even more. Of course, I have my reasons to persuade them to surrender. Before Villa Master Long could speak, Valley Master Niel laughed bitterly. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Old Fogey Long, bring out your sword and let me experience it. As he spoke, he waved the sword in his hand and leaped towards Villa Master Long. Little Nya, how can I not know how good your martial arts are? Even if I let you have 8 to 10 moves, you're still no match for me. Seeing that there was no room for reconciliation, Villa Master Long thrust his sword forward. The 2 of them stood in a circle. Brothers, we'd rather die than live in dishonor. The Yuli Alliance only has men who die on the ground. There are no pussies who live on the ground. Go, let's fight it out with Soaring Dragon Manor. Mafuhu roared and charged forward. The 2 forces immediately clashed. Yu Zhonglin was originally standing beside Nie Qianrong and Nie Qianyu to protect them. Now that someone was attacking them, he was also defending himself. As he drew his sword, he didn't forget to remind Nie Qianrong, little Yu doesn't know any martial arts. Protect her carefully. Yes, I know. Be careful. Nie Qianrong watched as her husband tried his best to defend himself, but soon fell into a disadvantageous position. Her heart turned cold as she stood in front of Nie Qianyu with a dagger in her hand. Although the number of Jade Foundation Alliance members was small, those who remained were all elites. Even though Longting Manor and the others tried their best to kill them, they did not seem to have any significant effect. What are you doing? Nie Qianrong held the short sword in her hand as she stared at young Master Long, who was slowly walking towards her. What am I doing? What else can I do? I just want to bring my beautiful wife home. Young Master Long glanced around the battlefield as he sneered. I didn't expect Rejuvenation Valley's first miss and second miss to be as beautiful as flowers. This 3rd miss just has to be a flower bud that hasn't bloomed yet. TSK, under my nourishment, I'm sure she'll be a great beauty in the future. As he spoke, young Master Long took a step forward and grabbed Nie Qianrong's chest. Nie Qianrong's face flushed red. She swung her short sword towards young Master Long. Young Master Long retracted his hand and raised the long sword in his right hand. Very exquisitely, he tapped on the short sword. With just a slight activation of the Soaring Dragon mantra, Nie Qianrong felt waves of boundless power surging from the short sword. She couldn't hold it in her hand, and the short sword flew diagonally out of the mountain. That wasn't all. Just as Nie Qianrong's gaze shifted to the flying short sword, young Master Long's left leg kicked Nie Qianrong's chest. With a pu sound, Nie Qianrong spat out a mouthful of blood. She was sent flying to the other side of the stone wall. First miss, although you're dignified and beautiful, you're still a withered flower. This young master doesn't care for you. It's better for you to hide to the side. Big sister, Nie Qianyu shouted and chased after Nie Qianrong. Little girl, let this young master see how old are you. Young Master Long was obviously humiliated by Zhang Xiaohua in the past. Now that he had a chance to regain his face, he actually acted like a ruffian. He didn't restrain his words and didn't have the bearing of a young master. His hand actually grabbed Nie Qianyu's slightly protruding chest. Little Yu, seeing that Nie Qianyu was about to be humiliated, Valley Master Nie, who had been paying attention to this scene, was furious. The sword in his hand was a little flustered. With a chi sound, Manor Master Long's long sword pierced Valley Master Nie's wrist. With a clang sound, Valley Master Nye's long sword fell to the ground. Valley Master Nye, you're too stingy. You're actually multitasking. Manor Master Long pointed his long sword at Valley Master Nye's throat and sneered. At this moment, how could Nye Qinyu escape from young Master Long's hands? How dare you? There was a clear roar, and a figure jumped out from behind Nye Qinyu. It was Little Orange, who had been hiding behind Nye Qinyu all this while, and didn't dare to make sound. She only jumped out when her young mistress was humiliated. Little thing, young Master Long was furious. It seems that if I don't show you my power, you won't know how powerful my Tongue Long Villa is. Young Master Long threw his long sword away and grabbed Little Orange's left hand with his left hand. At the same time, his right hand moved forward and grabbed Little Orange's left arm. "You, what are you doing?" Little Orange shouted in panic. Young Master Long didn't answer. Instead, he glanced sideways at Nye Qinyu, who was also a little frightened. With a chi-la sound, Little Orange's scream was heard. Little Orange's left arm was torn off by young Master Long. Little Orange. Nye Qinyu couldn't bear it anymore. She forgot to run to Nye Qianrong and turned back to run. Young Master Long's body was splashed with blood. With a hideous smile on his face, he opened his left hand and grabbed Nye Qinyu again. This time, he didn't grab her chest, but her throat. Little you. Seeing that Nye Qinyu was about to fall into young Master Long's hands, Valley Master Nye ignored Manor Master Long's long sword and rushed over. At this moment, a roar that resounded through the 9 heavens came from the distant sky. "Thief, how dare you!" Before the voice died away, 8 rays of sword light fell from the sky like lightning. They didn't wait for anyone to react and shuttled through the crowd at lightning speed. The first ray of sword light flashed through young Master Long's throat with a poochie sound. With a slight trace of blood, the sword light turned and rushed into another group of people, cutting the throat of the disciple who injured Yu Zhonglin. Young Master Long didn't move. His left hand was still stretched forward, but his head was slightly tilted as if he was looking for the person who scolded him. His right hand moved back and was about to cover his throat. When he touched his wound and saw the trace of blood on his hand, he didn't know what was going on. With a plop sound, he fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. He died with grievances. When Manor Master Long heard the scolding in the air, he felt a chill in his heart. He didn't expect things to turn out so quickly. When he saw young Master Long fall to the ground after being stabbed to death by the flying sword, he shouted. Just as he shouted, a ray of sword light appeared in front of him. Manor Master Long was shocked and raised his sword to block it. However, the sword light was invisible and couldn't be blocked at all. Before Manor Master Long could make any other plans, the sword light had already reached his throat. Manor Master Long felt a chill in his throat, and just as he touched his wound, he blacked out and fell to the ground. 8 streaks of sword light flashed with a cold glint, like a sickle used to harvest crops. Everywhere it passed, a life would be reaped. The man who was so arrogant earlier and had killed many of the Jade Foundation Alliance's disciples was now like a baby without any ability to move. He was easily killed on the spot. Little Orange. Nye Qinyu didn't notice what was happening. She only focused on the girl who grew up with her. Although she treated her as a sister, she had always been taken care of by her sister. Just now, she knew that nothing would happen to her, but she was afraid that Nye Qinyu would be humiliated and blocked in front of her. Little Orange's left arm was torn off and fresh blood covered the ground. Her face was extremely pale, and it was obvious that she wasn't going to live. "Little girl, you get out of the way first." A somewhat familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar voice rang out in the air. "Big Brother Ren?" Nye Qinyu was overjoyed. When she turned her head, she saw a handsome young man dressed in a simple robe standing in the air outside Rejuvenation Valley's mountain peak. He was not very tall, but he was not very handsome. Nye Qinyu's face turned red, and she felt sad. It wasn't her big brother Ren. Only then did Nye Qinyu see clearly that the person was floating in the air. Deity! This was the first thought that came to Nye Qinyu's mind. Then, Her eyes lit up and she fell to the ground. She knocked her forehead on the mountain rock and cried, "Granddad deity, quick, save little orange." The mountain rock on the mountain peak was very sharp. Nietchinyu only knocked a few times, and her forehead was bleeding. The person who appeared in the air was Zhang Xiaohua. He originally wanted to save Little Orange, but he didn't expect Nietchinyu to treat him as Granddad deity. Moreover, after knocking her head, he waved his hand and a force appeared out of nowhere. He lifted Nietchinyu up and said, "I don't know medicine, but there are a few pills here. Maybe they can save this little girl's life." As he spoke, he took out a jade bottle. With a wave of his hand, the jade bottle flew to Nietchinyu. Nietchinyu reached out to catch it and kowtowed again. "Thank you, Granddad deity." However, she couldn't continue kowtowing. At this moment, Zhang Xiaohua frowned and looked at the secret passage again. He turned to look at Si Yakong and Old Man Yu, and hurriedly led a few disciples to carry Little Orange down the mountain peak. Nietchinyu was anxious and wanted to follow, but Valley Head Nya pushed her and gave her a look, telling her to stay where she was. Nietchinyu knew her father's intentions, but she was really worried about Little Orange. Her gaze followed Little Orange's bloody body until it could no longer be seen. At this time, Si Yakong stepped forward and saluted. "I'm Si Yakong from Weapon Forging Sect." "Greetings, Senior Immortal." You're from Weapon Forging Sect. Why are you in Rejuvenation Valley?" Zhang Xiaohua asked, even though she already knew the answer. "Tell me the reason." "Yes, Senior Immortal." Si Yakong was unusually respectful. He stood there and told her the whole story. After listening to the process of the matter, Zhang Xiaohua's expression changed slightly. Her heart was also in turmoil. What happened to Rejuvenation Valley was because of her. If she hadn't entered the fragrant religion, how could there be so many waves? Admittedly, in order to enter the fragrant religion, she had given Rejuvenation Valley many benefits and also taught them the 5 elements formation, which could be considered as helping Rejuvenation Valley defend against the enemy. However, if she hadn't entered the fragrant religion, there wouldn't have been so many effects. Mu Qingxian and Fei He also wouldn't have lost their lives. Thinking that Mu Qingxian, who once earnestly taught her, was no longer in this world, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but feel sad. After Si Yakong finished telling the story, he looked at Zhang Xiaohua, who was still floating in the air, with an apprehensive expression. These were all mundane matters of Jianghu. He didn't know if this senior immortal cared. Looking at her calm expression, perhaps she just treated it as a story. Because this was the first time they saw someone from the immortal Dao, and because they didn't know her temperament, they were also shocked by Zhang Xiaohua's thunderous killing methods. Other than Si Yakong, who told the whole story, the rest of the people were silent and solemn. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Nie Qinrong, who had fainted by the stone wall, woke up with a groan, startling Zhang Xiaohua out of her reverie. Even Yu Zhonglin, who was lying at the side with serious injuries, woke up at this moment. He struggled to get over. Nietchinyu had been standing quietly by the side, frowning as she looked at Zhang Xiaohua. She clearly knew that the person before her was an immortal. Although she looked young, she was definitely older than her grandfather. Moreover, her height was obviously different from that person. But why did she feel a sense of familiarity? Hearing Nie Qinrong's groan, Nietchinyu seemed to wake up from a dream. However, she moved her body and stopped. She carefully looked at Zhang Xiaohua. When she saw Zhang Xiaohua nod, she hurriedly ran over. "Big sister," as she spoke, she helped Nie Qinrong up, took out an elixir, and fed it to Nie Qinrong. At this moment, although the scene was still silent, everyone was relieved. Although they didn't know this senior immortal's temperament, based on his actions just now, he should be kind. Or rather, he was kind to the people of the Jade Foundation Alliance. After a while, Zhang Xiaohua sighed. "The grudges of the pugilistic world aren't something that I can meddle in. But I happened to pass by here and saw that this girl's bones were very good. Perhaps fate has brought us together, so I made an exception and wanted to take this girl as my disciple. As Zhang Xiaohua spoke, she pointed at Nie Qinyu. Instantly, the eyes of the people of the Jade Foundation Alliance flashed with eagerness. Becoming a senior immortal's disciple, that was something that they had never even dreamed of. Moreover, he was the one who offered himself to be their disciple. This was a rare opportunity. Although Nie Qinyu wasn't their disciple, she was still a member of the Jade Foundation Alliance. Everyone knew that when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs can ascend to the heavens. With a senior immortal as her backing, who in the pugilistic world would dare to bully her? This was so much more powerful than the incense cult. Everyone wanted to reach out a third hand from their eyes and grab Nie Qinyu, forcing her to kowtow to him immediately. However, an unexpected answer came out of Nie Qinyu's mouth. Senior Immortal, I appreciate your kindness, but I've already become a disciple of the Beta School. Although I haven't officially taken you as my disciple, I've already cultivated the internal cultivation techniques of the Beta School. If I don't get the approval of the Beta School and become your disciple, wouldn't I? Everyone was shocked and their expressions changed. Putting aside the fact that Nie Qinyu had rejected such a great opportunity, even going against the Senior Immortal's wishes was a huge risk. If the Senior Immortal got angry, no one dared to think about it. Zhang Xiaohua frowned as well. He had personally taught the first level of the Carefree Heart Sutra to Nie Qinyu, so he naturally knew about this. However, he wanted to take Nie Qinyu as his disciple because he wanted to find a reason to help her. Even if Nie Qinyu had countless reasons, he would have countless ways to deal with it. Nie Qinyu said this, but she was also nervous. Looking at Zhang Xiaohua's solemn expression, she didn't know whether this was a blessing or a curse. Beta School? Zhang Xiaohua pretended not to know and asked curiously, "What school is that? I've never heard of it." However, you only learned the chant and didn't take anyone as your disciple, so you can't be considered a disciple of Beta School. Although I haven't taken anyone as my disciple, but I've long considered Beta School as my master. Haha, good girl, good disciple, whatever. Everyone felt extremely regretful. This was a great opportunity to become an immortal, and it was wasted just like that. Zhang Xiaohua changed the topic and said, "I'll temporarily take you as a registered disciple. If the elders of Beidou School don't agree, then forget about it." As she spoke, she took out an item from her pocket. With a stretch of her hand, the item flew to Nie Qinyu's eyes. This is a jade talisman for communication. If Beta School replies, crush it and I will know. This is fate for I to meet you. Everyone was shocked again. Of course, Immortal Elder's jade talisman had a profound meaning. It was simply a life-saving talisman. Further down the line was Rejuvenation Valley, the life-saving talisman of Yuli Alliance. Whether it was useful or not aside, with this item, who would dare to touch Rejuvenation Valley? How could Nie Qinyu not understand? She reached out to take it and bowed to thank her. "Thank you for your kindness, Immortal Elder." Before Nie Qinyu could finish, Zhang Xiaohua waved her hand and said, don't thank me. I'm leaving." As she spoke, she headed in the direction of Don't Worry City, disappearing in an instant. "Farewell, Immortal Elder." On the mountain peak, everyone bowed and called out. Even when Zhang Xiaohua was gone, they didn't dare to stand up. "Sigh, we can't do as we please in the Jianghu." Although Mu Qingxian and Fei He are in Rejuvenation Valley, taking care of the herbs and managing Qihuang, their lives are still in danger. Second brother is now the head disciple of Ethereal Hall, which is even more dangerous. With Incense Sect open, won't Abbess Jing care more about Ethereal Hall? Since we're already in the Jianghu, perhaps we can only cultivate our martial arts to the peak to have the ability to protect ourselves. The immortal Tao, the Qi of heaven and earth, is gradually recovering. The immortal Tao will be the main character in the future. The martial Tao may gradually decline. It's better to find an opportunity to see if second brother has any immortal fate Chapter 969. After Zhang Xiaohua left Rejuvenation Valley, she saw the disciples of the Jade Foundation Alliance chasing after the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa. The disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa fled pathetically, not daring to fight back. She couldn't help but think of drawing Zhang Xiaohua into the path of immortality. Immortal fate? In the eyes of others, it might be an indiscernible thing, but what about me? Zhang Xiaohua was a little proud. Although the qi of heaven and earth was recovering and not enough for cultivation, she had already learned the spirit-gathering array in the jade mine under 9 Radiance Peak. Moreover, the 5-color jade essence was the essence of the 5 elemental jade. In time, Zhang Xiaohua would definitely be able to use this jade essence to set up a true 5 elemental spirit-gathering array. The problem of the qi of heaven and earth needed for cultivation should be solved. The only thing left was Zhang Xiaohua's aptitude. This wasn't something Zhang Xiaohua could help with. Zhang Xiaohua concealed herself and flew to a secluded corner of Sorrow City. She revealed herself and released her divine sense, wanting to find Meng's location. However, after searching for a long time, she still couldn't find her. Strange? Did something happen? Zhang Xiaohua was a little anxious. However, she thought again. If something had happened, her divine sense would be able to find traces as well. She must have entered some kind of restriction that concealed her tracks. Then, she thought about the methods of the incense cult. Zhang Xiaohua felt relieved. She strolled to a tea house and sat at the side, slowly sipping her tea. News spread quickly in the tea house. In less than half a day, the Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa attacked Rejuvenation Valley. Rejuvenation Valley retreated to the top of the mountain in defeat. Just as Rejuvenation Valley was about to be exterminated, another immortal appeared and killed everyone from the Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa. There were even rumors that the immortal was more than 50 feet tall, had white hair, and a youthful face. He even held a walking stick in his hand. With a wave of his walking stick, there was the sound of thunder and lightning, killing everyone from the Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa, while leaving those from Rejuvenation Valley unharmed. You don't know this, but that immortal was standing hundreds of meters in the air. His body was glowing with multicolored light, and everyone on the mountain peak was kneeling down. When that immortal waved his hand, everyone involuntarily stood up. That's right, Valley Head Nya of Rejuvenation Valley has always been benevolent. The immortal said that he came down from the heavens to help, because he's usually a good person. What do you know? That's the Immortal Tao, more powerful than martial arts. I heard about it from Grandmaster. Say, when that immortal waved his walking stick, could the internal energy in his meridians fly out? Kill him? It's not internal energy, it's flying swords. I heard that when the immortal waved his hand, thousands of flying swords flew out of his sleeves and chopped Manor Lord Long and the others into minced meat. Listening to the rumors in the tea house, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but shake her head slightly, and a bitter smile appeared on her face. Rumors stopped with the wise. Perhaps it should be so, but could the rumors stop? Perhaps it was Rejuvenation Valley's intention, or perhaps it was the boredom of bored people. It wouldn't be long before this rumor spread throughout the pugilistic world. But thinking of the consequences she brought to Rejuvenation Valley, Zhang Xiaohua didn't want to correct anything. Perhaps this was also a kind of protection she brought to Rejuvenation Valley. There were more and more people in the tea house, and all of them were glowing with excitement. As soon as they entered, they opened their mouths and told her what they knew had happened in Rejuvenation Valley. Seeing that the tea house was even noisier than the restaurant, Zhang Xiaohua frowned slightly. Suddenly, her mind stirred, and she released her divine sense. She saw Meng appear beside Carefree Lake, and she was still dressed in her original attire. Looking at the sky, Zhang Xiaohua went down the tea house and headed straight for the Moon Elder Temple in the west of the city. The Moon Elder Temple was still cold and cheerless. Zhang Xiaohua sat on the back of the 4 odd beasts and watched from afar. She didn't push open the door and enter. When she saw the smiling Moon Elder in her divine sense, she thought of Meng and felt a trace of sweetness. It was a pity that although her divine sense was strong, she couldn't see if the two people's feet were tied with the same red thread. Just as she was thinking, Meng appeared in her vision riding a white horse. Zhang Xiaohua patted Huan's bald horn and said with a smile, "Is everything settled?" "And yes." Meng smiled and then hesitated. "But on the way to—" "I heard someone talking about Rejuvenation Valley. I don't know how it is now." Zhang Xiaohua nodded and said, "I also heard about it. But now, things have taken a turn for the better." "Turn for the better?" Meng was a little puzzled. "Could it be that Chung Longtung Manor has been withdrawn? You didn't hear any other rumors after you finished your business?" "Other rumors? What do you mean?" Meng was a little puzzled and said with a slightly red face, "I finished my business and was in a hurry. I came to the Moon Elder Temple and didn't hear anything." Zhang Xiaohua's heart warmed. She said gently, "I heard in the tea house that someone from the Immortal Tao came to the rescue and killed the people of Chung Long Tung Manor. Now that Rejuvenation Valley is very safe, there shouldn't be anyone in the Jianghu who would rashly invade." "Someone from the Immortal Tao?" Meng was shocked. "Who is that? How would I know?" Zhang Xiaohua shrugged. "There are all kinds of rumors in the tea house." "I don't know either." Meng said, "Then, should we go to Rejuvenation Valley first?" "Sigh, I don't know either. Since we're already here, we should go and take a look. But the root of the matter in Rejuvenation Valley is still with me. I'm a little embarrassed to go. Moreover, we're going to the Dalan Temple with a heavy responsibility. We can't leak the news of the incense cult opening. I'm afraid that the cult won't be able to make proper preparations. If we go to Rejuvenation Valley, won't everything be leaked?" Meng pursed her lips and smiled. "Then when you came out, did the cult leader tell you not to go to Rejuvenation Valley?" Zhang Xiaohua scratched her head and said, "Of course the cult leader didn't say that." "That's right," Meng said. "In the cult leader's eyes, the matter in Rejuvenation Valley is really insignificant. The punishment that day was only because Rejuvenation Valley agreed on the surface, but disobeyed in secret. Otherwise, the cult leader would have absolutely ignored it. Since I came to Sorrow City, you must follow. The cult leader must have thought that you would go to Rejuvenation Valley, but she still didn't say anything. Firstly, she didn't take it seriously. Secondly, she didn't care about whether you went or not. As for your whereabouts being leaked, that's even less of a consideration. You're just a nobody in the Jianghu. Who would know who you are? Heh. Even if you made a name for yourself in Rejuvenation Valley's arena, who would remember you now? You, and I enter the valley at night and warn them repeatedly. Do you think the people of Rejuvenation Valley would dare to spread the word? Even if they made a connection with someone from the Immortal Tao, our incense cult is a great sect of the Immortal Tao. Rejuvenation Valley will probably have to rely on our incense cult in the future. They definitely won't place their hopes on an illusory person from the Immortal Tao." Zhang Xiaohua pondered for a moment and nodded. "You're right. I originally thought too lightly. The grace of a drop of water must be repaid with a gushing spring. I still have to go. However," Zhang Xiaohua changed the topic, "Nie Qinyu and I really—" Meng laughed out loud when she saw Zhang Xiaohua's cautious appearance. She pinched Zhang Xiaohua's hand and said, "I've already said it no less than 100 times. If you don't have a guilty conscience, why are you nagging here?" I actually want to see this little girl." Night quickly arrived. The entire Rejuvenation Villa was shrouded in darkness. The walls surrounding the villa had long been removed. Now, only a few idle disciples were patrolling around. Presumably, even they themselves knew that the appearance of someone from the Immortal Tao during the day had already shocked the Jianghu. Even those who coveted Rejuvenation Valley couldn't reach out to Rejuvenation Valley at this time. "Say, do you think our third miss has a screw loose?" A disciple looked at the lights of 100 Herb Hall in the distance and said in a low voice, the Immortal Elder wanted to take her as a disciple, but she actually refused. She wants to be a disciple of some beta school. She'll lower your voice. Another disciple said, "Our Rejuvenation Valley managed to escape with our lives. Isn't it all thanks to the third miss? It's not that I don't appreciate the third miss, but I just don't understand. If you don't understand, then don't think about it. The immortal elder didn't take a fancy to you. The disciple said disdainfully. Besides, according to the immortal elder, there will still be opportunities in the future. As long as the people of Beidou school agree, the third miss can still become an immortal. Also, don't you think that beta school isn't normal? Yeah, now that you mention it, I kind of understand. You should have known long ago. The third miss set up some kind of formation outside the villa. I heard. It was taught by Ren Xiaoxia, who used to be here. Yeah, if it weren't for that formation, you and I might have died in the hands of the enemy long ago. At this moment, a woman's voice came from the forest not far away. She said in a low voice, Xiaohua, what formation? Haha, it's nothing much. It's just a strange formation I learned in the past. I used it to exchange for Rejuvenation Valley's pill formula. And a book from the Jade Foundation Alliance's weapon forging sect. Where did you learn it from? Can you keep a secret for now? Let's go out now. I'll tell you when I have the chance in the future. Remember to tell me in the future. Sure, of course. With that, the two of them drifted away like the autumn wind, drifting through the silent night sky. They went straight into Rejuvenation Mountain Villa without attracting the slightest bit of attention from the patrolling disciples. At this moment, Hunter Herb Hall was also filled with people. The atmosphere couldn't be described as festive or gloomy. It was just quiet, and no one spoke. Two people were kneeling in Hunter Herb Hall. One was Nie Qinxiu, and the other was, of course, Chang Sheng. Father, I did it for Rejuvenation Valley out of goodwill. Don't you know? Longting Mountain Villa allied with a group of sects to take over Rejuvenation Valley's foundation. I had no choice. I knew that I couldn't fight them head-on, so I discussed with Chang Sheng. Rather than letting Frozen Ice Garden take advantage of us, it's better to let the Whale Gang. No matter what, we're still family. Family? Valley Master Nie was furious. Since we're family, how could you lead a wolf into the house? If you hadn't broken the formation and led Longting Mountain Villa's people to the mountain peak, I wouldn't have been able to escape from Rejuvenation Valley. Father, the people outside the valley are all from the Longting Villa. Where are you going to escape to? Among the conditions that I discussed with them, there was a condition that they couldn't harm father and little sister. Chapter 970. Then as her father, I have to thank you. Valley Head Nie's face was full of mockery. Didn't you see that young Master Long's appearance? He didn't plan on taking your little sister's life. Valley Head Nie couldn't continue. He tore off Little Orange's arm in front of Little You. Wasn't that a direct threat? If it weren't for the fact that an immortal elder passed by today and was fated with Little You, not only would Little Orange's life have been lost, but Little You and I, even if our lives were saved, we would still be humiliated. Father, Nie Qinxiu begged. Soaring Dragon Villa, Flying Fish Gang, and even the disciples of my Whale Gang were all killed. Right now, the Whale Gang has no leader. If Chang Sheng and I don't return, then our ancestors' foundation will be taken over by others for nothing. Father, if you let us live, Chang Sheng and I will definitely merge the Whale Gang into Rejuvenation Valley. What do you think? I'm already old, and I don't have much ambition. I'm already satisfied to be able to protect Rejuvenation Valley. Why would I covet anything else? Valley Head Nie sneered. Moreover, you're the daughter-in-law of the Whale Gang. You led your Whale Gang disciples into Rejuvenation Valley. Right now is the time to punish you for your crimes. What's the point of saying all this? Father, Nie Qinxiu wailed. Father, I've said so much to you. Isn't it because I want you to know my difficulties? You don't know how great the power of that Longting Villa is and how powerful the master behind them is. Daughter's actions are also to find a bright way out for Rejuvenation Valley. After all, without the protection of the fragrant cult, who knows how many rascals in the pugilistic world are eyeing our Rejuvenation Valley. If I can clear the path of the master of Soaring Dragon Villa, then I can protect Rejuvenation Valley. I won't let down Father's decades of kindness in raising me. Nie Qianqiu's words were sincere, and tears flowed freely. It was as if she was going to dig out her heart for Valley Head Nye to see. Valley Master Nye sighed and said to Si Yakong, "Big brother Si, you're the boss of the Jade Foundation Alliance. You should make the decision." Si Yakong also sighed. He had watched the three sisters of a Nye family grow up. Based on Nie Qianqiu's crime, even if she was executed on the spot, it was only right. But this was Rejuvenation Valley after all, Commander Nye's place. At this moment, Si Yakong was almost complaining to the immortal elder. Why don't you just casually stretch out your hand and kill these two people? Wouldn't everything be over? Second brother Nye, this. Si Yakong shook his head slightly. The people of the Jade Foundation Alliance are all here to help Rejuvenation Valley. Of course, Rejuvenation Valley should be the leader. Qianqiu is your daughter. You should decide for yourself. Valley Master Nye looked up. Zhuo Siqing, Zhen Xian, and the others all lowered their eyebrows and didn't say anything. Valley Master Nye was truly in a difficult position. He unconsciously raised his eyes to look at Old Man Yu of Deer Cry Sect. Old Man Yu was originally lowering his head, but when he felt Valley Master Nye's gaze, he sighed in his heart and raised his head. Brother Nye, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should. Valley Master Nye was overjoyed. Brother Yu, please speak. For what I heard from Qianqiu, although there were many fallacies in her words, they were filled with the intention of protecting Rejuvenation Valley. Perhaps she fell into the enemy's trap, and her kindness was taken advantage of? Valley Master Nye pondered for a moment, then said, Brother Yu's words make sense. Moreover, after this battle, the Whale Gang is no longer a force to be reckoned with. It's not that I'm exaggerating, but by the time the sun rises tomorrow, someone might have already swallowed up the Whale Gang. Even if they return strong and powerful now, it's useless. Our Jade Foundation Alliance can forget about meddling in their affairs. Of course, I'm not saying this to side with Qianqiu. After all, she made a mistake by opening the formation and sending the enemy into the secret passage. She can't shirk her responsibility. So, since the immortal elder on the mountain peak didn't kill her with his sword, we, as her elders, shouldn't be too ruthless. When Nye Qianqiu heard this, she was overjoyed. Thank you, Uncle Yu. Sigh, you don't have to thank me. As the saying goes, the death penalty can be avoided, but the punishment cannot be avoided. What I mean is to cripple their martial arts and imprison them in the valley. Nye Qianqiu was shocked. She turned around and begged, Father, please be merciful. If you cripple my martial arts, won't I be powerless? This can't be done. When Valley Master Nye looked at Elder Yu again, he had already returned to his chair and was silent. Valley Master Nye knew that there was no other way out now. He could only wave his hand and say, Take them away and break their dantian, Father. Nye Qianqiu begged. Changsheng's face was ashen. Wait. A voice sounded from outside the door. It sounded familiar. Who is it? Valley Master Nye was shocked. When he looked up and saw Zhang Xiaohua and Meng slowly walking in from the door, he couldn't help but be stunned. Is it Nephew Ren? Valley Master Nye asked in disbelief. Haha, it is me. How is Uncle Nye? Seeing that it was Zhang Xiaohua, everyone in the hall stood up and looked at Zhang Xiaohua and Meng in surprise. Nephew Ren, didn't you go to the Fragrant Religion? How? How can you appear here? Could it be you didn't enter the Fragrant Religion? This lady, who is she? Valley Master Nye asked several questions in a row. Zhang Xiaohua said with a smile, I will answer these questions later. Now I would like to ask Valley Master Nye, can you lend me these two people for a while? Valley Master Nye frowned and said, Nephew Ren, what is the matter? Please tell me clearly in person. Zhang Xiaohua said awkwardly. After thinking for a while, he said, Uncle Nye, please know that this nephew is now a protector of the Fragrant Religion. This young lady is an intersect disciple of the Fragrant Religion's Fragrant Peak. Just now, I heard the two of them talking about a master. This master has some grudges with the Fragrant Religion. This nephew wants to know from their mouths who this master is. You are Fragrant Religion? Protector disciple? She She is an inner disciple of the fragrant religion, with Master Kong and the others. Valley Master Nya is right. I am Senior Peacock's junior sister, Meng said coldly, then took out a token from her chest and said, I wonder if Valley Master Nya wants to check this. Valley Master Nya hesitated. Then he seemed to think of something and shook his head. How can Rejuvenation Valley compare to an inner disciple of the fragrant religion? Naturally, I don't dare to verify your authenticity. However, if the fragrant religion doesn't protect Rejuvenation Valley for 10 years, this Qianxiu and Changsheng can't be questioned in private. Of course, if Nephew Ren has any questions, it is better to ask them in person. Zhang Xiaohua smiled bitterly and shook her head. Since Uncle Nya has such thoughts, then forget it. Good, take these two people away. Come and find a seat for Nephew Ren and this lady. When the two were seated, Valley Master Nya invited them to drink tea and asked, there is still a year before the fragrant religion leaves Jianghu. Why did Nephew Ren come out? Could it be? Zhang Xiaohua looked at Meng and turned to Valley Master Nya with a smile. Uncle Nya, how I came out is a secret of the fragrant religion. Moreover, the reason why I came here at night is because I consider that this matter is very important and cannot be leaked. Therefore, I cannot tell you for the time being. Also, I ask Uncle Nya and everyone here to keep my whereabouts a secret. If anything is leaked, I don't need to tell you the consequences. I'm sure all the uncles here know. Valley Master Nya looked at everyone with a slight change in expression. Since Nephew Ren's whereabouts are a secret, why? Valley Master Nya was very puzzled. Zhang Xiaohua stood up, bowed to the ground, and said, because I came to Sorrow City because I heard about Rejuvenation Valley being surrounded by Longting Villa. I also know about the punishment that the Hierarch has given to Rejuvenation Valley. Furthermore, this punishment was caused by this nephew. Therefore, this nephew has no choice but to come and explain the reason behind this. You? It's really you? Valley Master Nya was angry. He had some suspicions earlier. Now that he heard that Zhang Xiaohua had become some guardian disciple, and even went in and out with the inner disciples, how could he not vaguely know? But when he heard Zhang Xiaohua say it personally, how could he not be angry when he thought about Rejuvenation Valley's current miserable state? However, when he thought about the method of refining pills, the wonders of the 5 elements formation, and Zhang Xiaohua's current identity, Valley Master Nya's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Alas, he let out a long sigh and waved his hand. Ren Xiaoxia. Things have already come to this. Even if I blame you, what's the use? The matter of going to the fragrant religion was also brought up by me. Sending you to the fragrant religion was also agreed by me. You have also given Rejuvenation Valley a lot of benefits. When all these things are tangled together, I can't explain why. Since Ren Xiaoxia has now made a name for himself in the fragrant religion, I hope that you will take care of Rejuvenation Valley in the future. Valley Master Nya. Zhang Xiaohua changed her words. No matter what, this disaster was caused by me. If not for the appearance of the people from the immortal Tao today, my sin would be great. I have nothing to compensate. These few bottles of pills are from the fragrant religion. I hope that Valley Master Nya will accept them as my apology. Big Brotherin? Is that you? A timid voice sounded from behind Valley Master Nya. Nya Xiaoyu? Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, it's me. Are you well? A petite figure flashed out from behind Valley Master Nya and quickly ran in front of Zhang Xiaohua. However, when she saw Meng beside Zhang Xiaohua, she couldn't help but be stunned. A woman's intuition flashed through her, and she immediately stopped. She was somewhat vigilant as she asked, this young lady is? Xiaoyu. Valley Master Nya scolded. This is the inner sect master of the fragrant religion. Don't be rude. Nya Qinyu was shocked and hurriedly bowed. Nya Qinyu of Rejuvenation Valley greets. Master. Meng pursed her lips and smiled. She walked forward and held Nya Qinyu's hands. Don't be so polite, Nya Xiaoyu. My name is Zi Xia, a disciple of Mo Naigong. On Lingering Fragrance Peak, Ren Xiaoyao talked a lot about you. When these words stopped in Nie Qinyu's ears, it was like thunder in the night sky. It shocked her so much that her face turned pale. Chapter 971. How would Nie Qinyu know what a disciple of Lingering Fragrance Peak was? She was only thinking about what Meng said just now. On Lingering Fragrance Peak, Ren Xiaoyao talked a lot about you. Suddenly, Nie Qinyu's face turned pale and tears welled up in her eyes. She bowed again and said, "Greetings, Lord Zixia." I said you're welcome. I mean it, Meng said with a smile. Little you, these are the pills that Ren Xiaoxia took out. He said it was compensation for Rejuvenation Valley. Ren Xiaoxia has just admitted that the leader of Lingering Fragrance sect blamed Rejuvenation Valley because of him. This disaster was caused by him. Father, even if it's because of Big Brother Run, he also left behind a formation to help us defend against the enemy. Moreover, because of this matter, all the sects in the pugilistic world that coveted our Rejuvenation Valley were wiped out in one fell swoop. In the future, no one will dare to underestimate our Rejuvenation Valley. Nie Qinyu glanced at her dream and continued to defend Zhang Xiaohua. Little you, Valley Master Nie was a little unhappy. Nie Qinyu, you should accept it. Rejuvenation Valley suffered heavy casualties because of me. If you can accept these, I'll feel better. Zhang Xiaohua said, Take it, Nie Qinyu. These are healing pills from Lingering Fragrance sect. If anyone in Rejuvenation Valley is injured, taking one will be extremely effective. Meng also advised. Thinking of Nie Qianrong and Yu Zhonglin's injuries, Nie Qinyu's heart moved slightly. She nodded and said, Then, I'll accept it. Zhang Xiaohua nodded with a smile. Then, she said, The matter has been explained. I have something important to do, so I'll take my leave. Please keep the matter of my arrival a secret for me. Okay, I understand. Valley Master Nie stood up and said. Everyone also stood up. Zhang Xiaohua cupped her hands and was about to leave. At this time, Si Yakong pulled Zhang Xiaohua and whispered, Ren Xiaoxia, I don't know if I should say something. Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. Please enlighten me, Sect Master Si. Yes. Si Yakong looked at everyone and pulled Zhang Xiaohua to the side. He said in a low voice that the heavenly book that I gave to Ren Xiaoxia to comprehend. Cough, cough. I wonder if Ren Xiaoxia brought it back to Beta School? Zhang Xiaohua frowned and said, Not yet. Headmaster C knows that this is the first time I've left the School of Fragrance. I haven't returned to Beta School yet. I see. I'm sure Xiaoxia hasn't comprehended the secrets of the heavenly book yet. Zhang Xiaohua was about to speak, but Si Yakong didn't give her a chance. He smiled and said, Of course, it's a bit difficult for me to bring it up now. Although I had an agreement with Xiaoxia before, but my sect has a senior, cough cough, he seems to be able to decipher this heavenly book, so when Zhang Xiaohua heard this, her expression became very strange. She asked Sect Master C, You mean, yes, it's a bit embarrassing to take the heavenly book back from Xiaoxia now, but this heavenly book is related to the future of our weapon forging sect. As long as there's a glimmer of hope. I want to give it a try, haha. Zhang Xiaohua laughed and said, I thought it was something else. It's okay, Sect Master C. Since you have a better solution, I will definitely support you. However, the heavenly book is in my mount bag. Please wait a moment. Zhang Xiaohua went out and returned in the time it took to smoke a cigarette. She returned Si Yakong's wordless heavenly book intact. Si Yakong flipped it over and over again. When he saw that it was exactly the same as when he gave it to him, he carefully put it in his pocket and cupped his hands. Many thanks to Ren Xiaoxia for your kindness. Zhang Xiaohua also laughed and said, You're too kind. I still have to thank Sect Master Si. Si Yakong didn't understand. Zhang Xiaohua also didn't explain and left 100 Herb Hall. In the shadows outside 100 Herb Hall, Valley Master Nie and Nie Qinyu were accompanying Meng as they waited for Zhang Xiaohua. When he saw Zhang Xiaohua come over, Valley Master Nie whispered, Ren Xiaoxia, I also have something to tell Ren Xiaoxia. Zhang Xiaohua was even more curious. Valley Master Nie, why didn't you say anything earlier? Valley Master Nye glanced at Nye Qianyu and told her about how the immortal elder asked Nye Qianyu to become his disciple. He then laughed and said, "I know. Of course, it was just a joke that you accepted Little You as your disciple on behalf of your sex elder. Although you taught Little You some formations, it wasn't an internal cultivation technique. Also, I don't think you've returned to your sect. I think Valley Master Nye means to pretend that I didn't say anything, or when I return to the sect, I don't need to mention it to the sect's elders and head." Zhang Xiaohua said calmly. "Father," Nye Qinyu said, "I've already told you that I'm a disciple of Beidou School." "Shut up," Valley Master Nye scolded. "You're still young. How would you know the pros and cons? Listen to your father. It's definitely not wrong." "Hee hee," Zhang Xiaohua laughed. "Valley Master Nye, whether she wants to become my disciple or not is up to Miss Nye. If she doesn't want to become my Beidou School's disciple, how can I force her to become my disciple? Even the immortal elder you mentioned didn't force her to become his disciple. So, all the initiative is in Miss Nye's hands. I already understand Valley Master Nye's meaning. Before Miss Nye tells me that she wants to become my disciple, I definitely won't tell my sex elders in advance. Of course, if Miss Nye doesn't want to become my disciple, then don't practice the cultivation technique that I taught. Big brother run." Nye Qinyu felt bitter in her heart. "All right, I've finished my business here. Goodbye." Zhang Xiaohua cupped his hands and pulled Ming along with him as he left using his lightness skill. Nye Qinyu felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart when she saw Zhang Xiaohua holding Ming's hand. Zhang Xiaohua and Ming left Rejuvenation Valley. Zhang Xiaohua looked around and saw that there was no one around. She whispered, "Ming, wait here for a while. I'll be back soon." "What are you doing?" Ming whispered, "Don't tell me you're going to meet Nye Qinyu behind my back." "Forget it. Do I need to do that?" Zhang Xiaohua had an indescribable feeling in her heart. She said, "Didn't you hear Nye Qinyu's second sister talking about some master? This is a big fish. No matter what, we have to see if we can find any clues. I'm fine with it. But if you can find out who's behind all this, wouldn't it be a great merit?" Puffed. Ming laughed. "Aren't you worried about Nye Qinyu? You want to borrow the sect leader's hand to get rid of this person? I'm not thinking that much." Zhang Xiaohua looked around. "Forget it. Even if what you say makes sense, the atmosphere of the incense sect has been so foul because of these people that they even dared to make a move on Grand Elder Jing Gang and the others. If you really can find the culprit behind this, perhaps Rejuvenation Valley's punishment will be reduced." Maybe Rejuvenation Valley doesn't care about this punishment anymore," Meng said with a meaningful smile. "All right, then I'll go now. You aren't coming with me?" "No. You're familiar with this place. It's better if you go early and return early." Meng shook her head. Zhang Xiaohua leaped into the air and slipped into the darkness of the forest. She entered Rejuvenation Valley like a wisp of smoke. When did Xiaohua's lightness skill become so good? Meng was stunned. Zhang Xiaohua released her divine sense and easily found Changsheng and Nye Qianxu's location. The two of them were in a secluded hut by a pea oil lamp. Their faces were filled with dejection and disappointment. They appeared to be in a sorry state. Outside the hut, several Rejuvenation Valley disciples were patrolling the area with weapons in their hands. Zhang Xiaohua entered the hut. Before the two of them could react, she sealed their acupoints in the air. Then, she walked in front of them and stretched out her finger to seal the acupoint on Nye Qianxu's head. It was the bewitching finger. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Zhang Xiaohua appeared under a big tree outside the hut. Her face was filled with disappointment. It was obvious that she hadn't gained anything. She was about to leave the valley, but when she used her divine sense, she had a strange expression. She formed an incantation gesture and entered the ground. However, the direction she went wasn't outside the mountain villa. In the peach blossom forest of Rejuvenation Valley, the peach blossoms had already turned into fallen petals. At this moment, they had turned into spring mud and nourished the peach trees. In the dark night, under the full moon, a slender figure knelt in the peach blossom forest. She put her palms together and muttered, "Mother, I really can't tell if I like it or if I'm in pain. Today, I unexpectedly saw Big Brother Rin. I'm so happy that I'm even happier than when I saw the Immortal earlier. However, Mother, Big Brother Rin didn't come alone this time. There's a girl called Zixia with him. She's an inner disciple of the Fragrance sect. She looks very kind and treats me very well. She's even more kind than the previous inner disciples, but I know that she's here because of Big Brother Run. Actually, I quite like Lord Zixia from the bottom of my heart. But when I saw her standing together with Big Brother Run, my heart began to ache. Moreover, when I saw Big Brother Run holding her hand, my heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. Mother, I know that I'm in the wrong. Big Brother Ren. He didn't say anything to me before. I'm definitely not worthy of him. Now, he's seen the person he likes. I should smile and give him my blessings. But I really can't do it. Mother, I can't do it. Nie Chinyu choked with sobs and covered her face with her hands. Mother, just now Father told me that although Big Brother Ren has done a favor for the Fragrance sect, he's also brought us trouble this time. Let's call it even and don't have any more dealings with him. Although he's a guardian disciple of the Fragrance sect, but our Rejuvenation Valley has the Immortal as our backer. In the future, we don't have to give face to the Fragrance sect, but Mother, if I crush that Jade Talisman, although I can follow the Immortal to practice the way of immortality, but in the future, how can I meet Big Brother Rin? I'd rather follow Big Brother Rin to practice that obscure mental cultivation method than to learn the Immortal's cultivation method. Mother, I've also told you before, every time I practice that mental cultivation method, although Big Brother Rin isn't around, but I feel that Big Brother Rin is beside me and even watching me. This way, I'll have the energy to practice it. But, Father, the Rejuvenation Valley has become like this. If we don't have the Immortal support, I'm afraid. Sigh. Mother, I know Father's difficulties, but Mother, tell me, what should I do? In the distance, on top of a tall peach tree, a slender figure stood. He stared in a daze and listened in a daze. It was as if he had long been dumbfounded. Chapter 972. As the night deepened and Meng grew anxious, Zhang Xiaohua came out of Rejuvenation Valley. Her brows were slightly furrowed, as if she had something on her mind. Meng whispered, "What's wrong? You didn't find Nie Qinxiu? Let's go. It's getting late. Let's talk as we walk." The two of them used their lightness skills and rushed to Vao City. On the way, Zhang Xiaohua said, "We did find Nie Qinxiu and Changsheng, but they were fooled and used as pawns. How could they know anything about the Lord? She only saw Manor Lord Long and that so-called person sent by His Highness. That person seemed to have inconceivable skills and promised to hand over Rejuvenation Valley to her after taking it down. That's why she was blinded by greed and used the trick of injuring herself to become a spy. What about the person sent by the Lord? He was killed by that mysterious immortal on the mountain peak this morning. Well, this is great. We work for nothing. Well, it's not like we work for nothing. Nie Qinxiu also said that she vaguely heard Manor Lord Long mention something called Shuiyun. It seems to be a place where the Lord is. It's in the northeast of Vao City. As for the specific location, we'll have to ask carefully. It's a place called Shuiyun in the northeast of Vao City. It's easy to find out. When we arrive at Vao City, we'll send a message to the outer disciples of Incense Cult and have them investigate. On the one hand, we'll let them investigate. On the other hand, we'll have to secretly keep an eye on this so-called Lord. I'm afraid that ordinary outer disciples won't be able to find out. That's reasonable. But our main task is to send the invitation card back to Lingering Fragrance Peak and have Marshal Uncle Shuizhen busy. We'll do as you say. I'll leave this task to you. You can't do it? Of course I can't. I don't know where the disciples of Incense Cult are in Vao City. Zhang Xiaohua said with conviction. You win. Meng glared at him. At the same time, in the northwest direction of Worry City, there was a continuous stretch of lakes of various sizes that were connected to each other. In the middle of the large lake, there were several large docks that were also connected together. They were brightly lit, illuminating this area of water. Not far away, the reeds and other things that were exposed on the surface of the water could be seen clearly. On the dock, in a magnificent hall, Peng Yu, whom Zhang Xiaohua had seen earlier, was sitting in the seat of honor. Accompanying him was an old man who looked very similar to Huang Chang. The old man raised his cup and said with a smile, "Young Master Peng, you've been in my Falling Star Alliance for quite some time. Are you satisfied with us?" Peng Yu raised his cup and smiled gracefully. "Of course, Chief Huang's hospitality is perfect. How could I not be satisfied?" Then he looked around and asked, "Where is your young master? This period of time has been hard on him. We have to thank him." Gang leader Huang looked a little worried, but it disappeared in a flash. He said, "That brat doesn't know what's good for him. I don't know where he went. I sent several disciples to look for him, but they couldn't find him." Although young Master Huang is a little rough, but Peng Yu obviously saw the old man's worry and comforted him. Maybe he has some personal matters to attend to. He'll be back in a few days. Haha, that's true. This child has grown up. I have a lot to worry about. Come, young Master Peng, let me send you off tomorrow. Please put in a good word for me in front of the Lord. Of course, you're welcome. Peng Yu finished his cup in one gulp. The people in the hall also laughed. All kinds of people came forward, exchanging toasts with Peng Yu. After a while, seeing that Peng Yu was happy, Chief Huang probed, "Young Master Peng, this old man wants to ask if it's convenient for you." Peng Yu was taken aback. He smiled and said, "Chief Huang, please go ahead. As long as it's not a secret, I will tell you everything I know." No, Chief Huang quickly shook his head. "The Lord is very gracious to us. We know that the Lord is very important. So how can we not know the severity of the matter? This old man just wants to ask if you remember the couple that my son met when he was hunting with you? Those two people?" Young Master Peng seemed to have a deep impression of this matter. He immediately frowned and asked, "Chief Huang, what do you mean?" "Oh, it's like this." Chief Huang chose his words carefully and said, "I heard from my brothers that after young Master Peng met that couple, my son searched for them and never came back." Peng Yu frowned. At first, he was dissatisfied, but then he gradually calmed down. Then he was surprised and said, "Could it be that there's something wrong with that couple?" Then he muttered to himself, "This is not possible. Then his expression changed greatly. Could it be that they could hide from my eyes? Therefore, this old man wants to confirm with young Master Peng about the origins of these two people. My son must have died in their hands. But I heard from my disciples that they were very young. Although my son is ridiculous, he has more than 10 years of cultivation. Moreover, he brought 5 people with him. There's no way he would have failed." Peng Yu frowned and said, "From what I saw, those 2 people are exactly as Chief Huang thought. They're just 2 juniors who have just entered the Jianghu. It can't be." Chief Huang wanted to ask more, but at this moment, hurried footsteps were heard. Someone shouted, "Chief Huang, there's an urgent report from Don't Worry City." Chief Huang frowned and scolded, "Can't you see that I have something important to do? Let's talk about it tomorrow." When the person heard this, he was about to leave. "Chief Huang, this is your fault. This is an urgent matter of the Falling Stars Alliance. How can you delay it because of me?" Peng Yu shook his head slightly. Young Master Peng is lucky." Chief Huang panicked, but he wasn't nervous. He waved his hand and said, "Come in and report." "Yes, sir." The disciple outside said urgently, "I just received an urgent report from Don't Worry City. This afternoon, Longting Villa attacked Rejuvenation Valley but failed. An immortal suddenly appeared and killed all of them." Not only Chief Huang, but young Master Peng's expression also changed. He said loudly, "What happened? Tell me in detail." After the disciple told him the whole story, young Master Peng frowned and said, "This is all hearsay. It doesn't count, right? We're the people of Longting Villa. Were they all killed? No one was left alive? Villa Lord Longting and other experts were all killed. Many of the disciples also escaped. All right, Chief Huang. Since something happened in Don't Worry City, I can't rush back. I'll go to Don't Worry City now. Find a reliable person to go to Longting Villa and deal with the matter there. Find someone who knows the truth and ask him about it. Then, report back to the Lord in detail. Chief Huang stood up and said with a serious face, "As you command, young Master Punk. All right, all good things must come to an end. This banquet is over. Chief Huang, prepare the horses. I'll go now." "Yes, sir." The group dispersed. They left the dock and boarded boats to the shore. Then, they rode their horses and prepared to deal with the situation. As for the culprit, Zhang Xiaohua, she had already left Don't Worry City with Meng. They set up their tents in a forest and rested. News traveled fast into Jianghu. In just a few days, news of immortals appearing in Don't Worry City had spread. Many people changed their plans and went to Don't Worry City to gather information. Lingering Fragrance Peak, Don't Worry Palace. Jingyi frowned and said to the people in the hall, "Immortals are rare in the Jianghu. How can there be such a coincidence?" First, traces of immortal seniors appeared in the ruins of Huanshu. Then, our restriction formation collapsed. Then, immortals appeared in Don't Worry City and went on a killing spree. Is the young miss of Rejuvenation Valley really so talented? Or is this just an excuse? Jing fans said, "No matter what, the appearance of immortals in the Jianghu is the beginning of chaos. It's in line with the forefathers' prophecy." That's right. Although the failure of our sect protecting formation is inevitable due to the change in the world's primordial chi, it's also true that the primordial chi of heaven and earth is gradually recovering. The rise of immortals is also an irresistible trend. The immortals must have seen some clues and appeared, so they want to reap benefits in the Jianghu in the future. Since that's the case, the other great sects must have made preparations. If we don't plan ahead, we'll lose the initiative in the future. Yes, I want to hear your teachings. Haha, if you only think of it now, won't it be too late? Don't worry, we've already planned ahead. We'll start now. Your wise hierarch, a towering mountain peak that was shaped like a heaven-piercing sword pierced through the white clouds in the sky. There were continuous rows of houses on the mountain peak. In a magnificent hall, there was a yellow-faced old man with an uncertain expression. He frowned slightly as he looked at a disciple in front of him and said, "Is what you said true? Did Rejuvenation Valley really get in touch with immortals?" Reporting to the Alliance Master, "It's true. Everything this lowly one has said is true. This lowly one has seen and heard everything in Sorrow City that day." "Good. I'll remember your contribution. You may leave." After the disciple left, the old man with a yellow face pondered for a long time. He raised his eyes to look at the people below and said, "Everyone, our alliance of righteousness started after the immortals. We don't have any inheritance to speak of, so we don't have any relationship with immortals. This immortal, we have to believe it." Then he hesitated and looked at a tall and thin old man beside him. He said in a low voice, "Vice Alliance Master Chai, do you remember the evil tiger gang outside Pingyang City? That time, Vice Alliance Master Jiang disappeared mysteriously. There were only traces of fire in the underground hall. Moreover, all the lids of the jade coffins were missing. I heard from the disciples on duty that there were only a group of men from the pugilistic world and soldiers who surrounded them. Those hostages were rescued. They didn't take away the jade coffins. How could so many lids disappear?" The old man also cupped his hands and said, "Alliance Master's words are reasonable. This subordinate is also thinking. I wonder, is this immortal the same person who attacked the evil tiger gang? Forget it, it shouldn't be." Zhang San waved his hand, hatred in his eyes. "That bastard ruined my plans. What's the use of knowing? Sigh, immortals. Do you know about immortals? That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.